Good to go.
Thank you so much. Welcome, everyone. Today is November 2nd. No, yes, 2nd. And this is the Battery Park City Committee of Manhattan Community Board 1. My name is Justine Kucha. I'm the chair of the committee. We have on the call Kathleen Gupta, my co-chair. We have Jeff Galloway, and we have Sarah Cassell, Eric Flores, Dr. Betty Kay, and that is who I see right now from our committee. More will be joining us, I assume, but we do have quorum. So we are going to get started, and I am going to let you know how this meeting works. We've got an agenda that's kind of packed. We've got 5 different items. We will work where we go one by one. It will be operated by Robert's rules, where first the one person speaks at a time. I recognize that person. I will recognize people who are on the board first, and then I will go to the attendee section. If you want to raise your hand in the attendee section, or the board members know, you can either push *6 or raise your hand, and I will call on you. I can see who's in the attendee section. I can see your hands raised. So don't worry. At this point in time, if you are an attendee, you will not be on video and you cannot unmute yourself, but you will be asked to unmute when I call on you. Our first item on the agenda is BPC runs and permits, discussion and possible resolution if we need it. And that's, Nick, I'm going to push it over to you to have you introduce Nydia and Nathan J. And Jamelia, thank you. I'm like, that's not your name, and I couldn't remember it, so I'm sorry for that, Jamelia. Apologies.
Okay.
Thank you so much, and let's get going.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Justine, thank you, and members of the committee. Appreciate you all having us, as always. Jamelia, can you hear us and see us okay?
I can. Can you hear and see me?
We can. Nydia, I think, was having some volume issues. Nydia?
Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, we can. Great.
I just can't hear you.
Oh, make sure you look and see about the sound on your computer.
Nydia, turn your sound up. She can't hear us, so I don't know if that's gonna work. Nick, can you just stick your head in her office?
Yes, or better yet, what I can do is I can just walk next to each other. We'll do it that way for this item.
Okay.
We are adjusting on the fly. Here is the kind of inside look of behind the curtain. Here we go. Okay.
Okay. Oh, the tour. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Hey. In the garden and in an office.
Right.
Amazing.
Nydia really is the best. Nydia really is the best.
Nydia, your volume's probably just down. That happened to me earlier today.
Yeah.
See, now it looks like it's 100%.
My volume is 100%.
Okay, I'm not sure.
No. But all right, use Nick's computer, and let's go from there.
Let's see here. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Nonetheless, I'm sorry, everyone. We'll just do it this way. So, good evening. I'm joined by Jamelia Nathan, who's our Vice President of Administration, and Nydia Blake, who you know very well, who's our Director of Event Coordination
and management. And what we wanted to do, and Justine and members of the committee, thank you for the flexibility. There are some questions, I think, around some of the walks and runs generally in Battery Park City, and especially in light of some of the pending closures with respect to the South Battery Park City Resiliency Project, how some of the larger events would be impacted, and an overall view of how those events today compare to how they had been in the past, and any plans that we may have to obviously make sure those events can continue while simultaneously, as we always do, aiming to minimize community impact. So with that, I have Jamelia and Nydia here. I think I'll turn it over to Jamelia just to kind of say a few words and kind of set the frame, and then give it to Nydia to kind of give some facts and figures, and then certainly want to open it up to you all with any questions you might have. Okay.
Thank you, Nick, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us. We're happy to be here to just discuss any questions and concerns you have about our resiliency project, about the impact of Wagner Park's closure on some of our walkathons, which my understanding is what you are interested in discussing, and we're happy to talk about anything else. But just to give you a framework of what our permitting, annual permitting for walkathons is. We generally have 3 large recurring walkathons. That one is the 9/11 walkathon. The American Heart Association is also one that's an annual event, and Tunnel to Towers, which, as you know, is the for the most part that is handled by the city of New York. And so the one that we are that usually passes through Wagner Park is the 9/11 walkathon. And so we just wanted to let you know that we've been putting our heads together to try to figure out some alternative routes to that. We think that the closing of the park, of Wagner Park, for the duration of the construction is probably going to have minimal impact to these events. Again, because the 3 larger events, 2 of them don't even go through Wagner Park, and the one that does, we have some alternative thoughts. So with that, I forgot to say I'm VP of Admin. Permitting is in my purview. Nydia is obviously the head of the permitting department, and so I know she has a lot to contribute to this discussion. So Nydia, you want to take over?
Actually, before Nydia, you go, I'm going to give you just a brief reaction to what you just said. I'm a little concerned because I'm hoping that the Battery Park City Authority is taking into consideration the fact that without Wagner Park and without Battery Park for 2 years, the rest of the neighborhood is going to be severely impacted by crowds and everything else. And having runs, which even though they're used to being here while the construction is going on, we're talking huge. The 9/11 walkathon, this is not the Tunnel to Towers, this is something else. We're talking about a lot of impact on Battery Park City. And so I'd like to know what your thoughts are about that and the rest of the neighborhoods. And because clearly what you're going to have to do is push the people into the other parts of Battery Park City. But I'll defer to Nydia now.
Nydia, we can't hear you.
Hello, everyone.
No. Oh, can you hear me now?
Now we
Yes.
can, yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
It's good to see everyone. It's been a long time since I've attended one of these meetings. And we, the authority, do understand your concerns. One of the things to take in mind is that permits are issued on a first come, first serve basis according to the date of the event. Also take in mind that we, the authority ourselves, have programmed events that we do in Battery Park City starting from the springtime all the way down to November, December. And so we do not issue a permit to anyone outside before we have in our hands the list, the calendar for that year of what we have planned. And so I understand you're concerned as far as more events are going to be coming to Battery Park City, and it means pushing all those events elsewhere. Yes, I do agree that most of the events, for example, all the program
Not even more events.
now
The
that
fact
when
we are losing
Wagner
space.
is no longer
Oh, you went,
available,
if you're
those
still
events
talking,
will be
Nydia, we
moving
can't hear you.
further to the north, whether to
They have to do
Esplanade Plaza,
something.
whether to Rockefeller Park, whether to Belvedere Park. Recently we started using
Cannot hear her at all.
Rector Park West. The community
I'm on
started
mute.
using Rector Park West and Rector Park South a little bit more for family gatherings and birthday parties and picnic and what have
I'm not
you.
muted now. I cannot hear Nydia. Can you guys hear Nydia?
Yes.
You all can.
Yes,
Okay. and what have you. Hmm?
Can you hear them?
No.
Okay.
No, we can hear you, Nydia.
I can hear
Did I lose
Nydia.
you again?
No, Nydia, I can hear.
I
quite
cannot
well.
hear Nydia.
Justine
I hear
cannot,
nobody.
but I can.
I
Justine,
can too.
I think Justine needs to adjust her audio.
What is going on?
All right, hold on.
Wait.
Nydia, you're fine.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to Nick's office. Not that they can hear me, but huh?
All right.
Justine,
right.
can you hear me? Justine, you cannot hear me. Let me text her because I think it's Justine's audio.
Okay. Thank you. We'll hold. Sorry about that.
Please hold it. And then, thank you very much for your patience on this. And certainly, Nick and Nydia, before there was also mention of
Okay,
the
sorry, I cannot hear, but I'm reading closed captioning.
Then, Justine, you need to adjust your speakers because everyone else can hear.
I'm gonna close my door. Hold on one second.
We'd like to see that map that you're suggesting for alternative routes for the existing ones that you said need to be rerouted.
Okay, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
so Nydia's in my office. Apologies for the technical difficulties. Nydia's in my office. She can hear you, you can hear her, right? You can hear us?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Nydia, I think someone had a question while you were giving your,
It was Tammy.
It was me. You mentioned, thank you so much, that you have an alternate path that you have worked out and coordinated for the runs and walks that you want. We would like to know what that is. Those are things that the community board has worked with the Battery Park City Authority before in dialogue and discussion. So if you are planning an alternative map, we would love to see it and have input and dialogue as the community who lives here. Most often, when these runs and walks happen, it is something that affects the quality of life of the residential population more than the business population, because it is about, it's usually evenings that it happens, you know, afternoons, evenings. Sometimes it impacts in terms of weekends as well. Thank you very much, Robin. And it also impacts school buses because even though they are all local schools, they all do have busing, which I don't know if you're aware of. And there is a District 75 school housed within the 276 building that has to have bus access. So when you're talking about maps and how you're choosing to route people, it's extraordinarily important that we have that as not a discussion of, oh, don't worry, we have a map, we're going to redo them, but that you discuss that actually with us.
Mention map.
So thank you.
I don't
know who mentioned map, but I didn't mention any map, but
Not you. The lovely new director of administration mentioned that they had an alternative route that they
we
were.
have some suggestions. We don't have any maps. We have some thoughts, and maybe I miscommunicated. We haven't set out any final answer to anything, but we had some alternative thoughts regarding the
9/11.
the 9/11 event, which is the only one that normally goes through Wagner Park. That was all I was trying to communicate. Apologies if that's not what rang through.
Would you share those thoughts?
Sure.
Sure, Tammy. As we all know, the 9/11 event, walkathon, 5K walkathon, is highly controlled by the NYPD. We have two suggestions for them. And it has to do with them, of course, Wagner Park would not be available. But one of the options that we are thinking of, and again, this has not been confirmed. They don't even know that we're going to make these suggestions. You're the first one to hear it. We can cut the group off before they even get to the South Cove. They could make a left turn right there by the Regatta on West Thames Street. They can go straight across to the Hudson Greenway and continue up to Battery Place until they get to Greenwich Street. That's one. And the other is to go the same route through, go up to the South Cove to Third Place, cross the street on the opposite side of the street from Wagner, and continue up towards Greenwich. And I honestly think that the NYPD would probably consider that option more than they would the first, because it means that the group, such a large group, they're not scattered and they're not making all these turns to exit out of Battery Park City. In the past, all they've done is go to the South Cove and exit behind the Jewish Museum to Battery Place and to Greenwich Street. That is the only affiliation they have with Wagner Park. No setting up, no nothing like that. All of their setup is done on the Lower Plaza in front of Brookfield Place. And from there, they head north and then head back south. And this is when they could either use Third Place, or they have the second option of West Ames Street.
So my question is, what time of day? Because if they are on the east side of Battery Place, that will completely shut entrance and exit down to PSIS 276 and the District 75 school.
This is early in the morning, and this is on a Sunday. Their events is usually on Sunday morning.
Okay.
And what,
The only walkathon, huge walkathon that is during the week is usually the American Heart Association, and that is usually on a Thursday. And next year they're planning it, I believe, on May 18th. And that walkathon in particular, they don't come through the park. They come through on the street, on Battery Place, the 3rd. Then they come to the South Cove and head towards Espinal Plaza, which is the volleyball court, and they end the race right there and proceed to the Lower Plaza, where they have a festival maybe for an hour, and then they leave and they break down. They break down and leave.
And so do you anticipate them going up Pataki Way and onto Third Place, or do you anticipate them using Battery Place?
I anticipate them just using Battery Place, the street, not even the sidewalk, the street. Which is what they've done in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And NYPD usually, or we usually ask them close to the date of if there's any changes in the closure of street, which we usually pass on to Nick if there is. And the next bigger event, which is the 9/11, they don't go south at all. They, from Red Hook, they come out of the Hewell Carey Battery Tunnel. They proceed to Liberty Street, down the Liberty Ramp, passing the waterfront Lower Plaza. They pass through Rockefeller Park and end up at VZ Street, where they have a family festival. So they don't go south at all.
so Nydia,
Tower to tunnels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
this is the tunnel to towers.
Tunnel to
Yes.
tunnels, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm not quite sure why I'm echoing. But anyway, thank you, Tammy, for carrying that. I'd like to ask the committee if they have any concerns about any of the information that you've heard so far. Everybody's good? Betty, please speak. Go ahead.
Actually, I'm fine with it, and I'm really glad that we will, during this time, be able to do some charitable events, because I think that's a big, important part of this community as well.
Okay, great. Anybody else have anything to say? Lucian?
Hey, everyone, I'm muting anybody who's unmuted. We're getting a bit of an echo because there's somebody who's got their microphone on that is creating an echo effect. So just check before you speak that you're not muted because I'm going through and muting everyone. Just want everyone to know.
Lucian, it might have been me. I'm signed on my phone as well as my
Okay.
computer. Now I've muted the computer, but
Okay.
you can hear me, right? So it was me.
Okay. Oh,
That was the
okay. All
problem.
right.
Yeah, now, but I think I fixed it-ish. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's all right.
All right, anything else on this issue? Do we need to do any resolution? And I apologize. Yeah, Betty, you're shaking your head. I'm gonna look to you guys to give me some feedback because I missed the whole conversation. I'm so sorry with my technical difficulties.
Well,
Betty,
I
I
can I just say, I was going to shaking my head because all of these events go through the Transportation Committee for street activity anyway. So I don't know that you need a resolution because it would only go to another committee that's going to do what they do anyway. So thanks.
It's only the run walks that are within Battery Park City on Battery Park City land for the
We're talking
resolution,
about.
Betty. It's not the, yeah.
Yeah,
And it sounds to
True,
me,
but we've done all the ones they mentioned.
let me finish, please. There are others that come through Battery Park City that are not the big ones that you've mentioned that are normally housed in Wagner, what is the plan for all of them? Are you looking at moving their location, start and stop? And if so, what routes are you considering, or are they just going to move up to the north?
Okay, I just want to clarify something, and let me take you back a little bit by the way of history. When what's now the Battery, formerly Historic Battery Park, went under construction, and these vendors came to us, and they wanted to know could they host these events in Battery Park City. We were very concerned about it, but because there were nonprofit organizations, we thought, we looked into the cause and we felt it was a good cause. And so we made a decision then that if they wanted to host events in Battery Park City at Wagner Park, they can only use the plaza of Wagner Park. They could not enter into the park with their event. The 9/11 group is the only group that we have allowed to actually pass through the park during an event. So these organizations have used the plaza of Wagner to host the events, and they've only used it for a few hours. And one of the things we want to make sure is that if they use Wagner, that they were not going to be out there all day. And most of these organizations usually starts their event early in the morning, sometime at 7 a.m. And so we allowed them to come in from 7 to 1, and they must be out of Battery Park City. And that includes breakdown and out of Battery Park City.
But where are they going to be when Wagner is under construction?
That's
Because
assuming.
Wagner is out of the picture, so is the Battery Conservancy. Because
Those
of the
PRA
construction.
Plaza, everything.
Correct.
There was only one walkathon this year that was hosted on the plaza of Wagner Park. And that walkathon was a very small walkathon.
Well, but where are they
They
going to
up-
go
they-
is the
yes,
question. They
let-
can't
let me
possibly
finish.
be they can't possibly be in the same location.
We
That's the point.
understand that the route doesn't change, just that block changes. In other words, they can still continue the route, but not go all the way to Wagner Park. They can loop around any one of those blocks when the time comes. We have to study it more internally. But what I'm saying is the fact that Wagner Park is closing, and that block will no longer be available. It doesn't interrupt the rest of the route. It's just one block.
Right, but Nydia, you understand what we're saying.
Yeah.
Now, the question is, if it starts, are you having them set up in Pataki Way as a start line? Obviously, if they're starting in Wagner Park, it's not underneath somebody's windows. And we might have only had one last year, but with the loving hope that we will get back to a pre-pandemic level of events, Nick would sit here every month and talk about the spring, and there were dozen events.
Mhm.
So on the positive assumptive note that we will be back in person and hosting regular things. I mean, I've been to many not-for-profit fundraising events, and they're big, they're back. 790 people over at Cipriani is not an unusual thing these days. So knowing that the spring will be in high demand, what is the plan?
Okay.
That's kind of where we're going.
I understand that and I appreciate that. I would say the same two blocks that I just gave you for the 9/11 group, West Stain Street or Third Place, and loop back around to the Regatta. I would say these are the options that we're looking into.
That's a concern to me with West 10th Street being the loading place, loading for the building.
No setting
have
up,
to
they're
close.
just passing through. They're just passing through.
You're
They're
going
not
to have
setting
to
up.
close the street to allow people to get through. I mean, you're going to have to, right? You can't have runners or walkers on West 10th Street. They're going to be in the street. So I guess I'm concerned. Lucian, you're raising your hand. I'm concerned because it's going to be a lot of pressure on the neighborhood and other places. And if you're going to tell me it's just one event, how many people are we talking about? 10, 50, 50,000? What are we talking about?
I'm actually wondering about the dozen events that we used to host down in
Yeah,
Wagner.
and I agree with you
And
because
where are they starting? Not the ones that pass through, it's the ones that start
or stop there. Yeah, I mean, there are
Some of the events that you see, They don't start here in Battery Park City.
They
They
just
may
run
end
through.
here in Battery Park City. They begin at the South Street Seaport, and for mileage sake, they ask can they end the event in Battery Park City.
Nydia, that's what I'm asking for those that start or those that finish in Wagner from the dozens that we used to have planned. What is the plan for those in the next 2 years of construction to 3?
Okay. Well,
Is there an alternate start and stop staging area that the Battery Park City Authority is looking at? And if so, where? We say this, I'm going to let Lucian go next and I'm going to be quiet, is because there was conversation several years ago about doing it at the cul-de-sac of South End Avenue. That was when we were talking about the redesign of South End Avenue, that was resoundingly turned down because of handicapped access to the cove
Yes.
and Regatta not wanting that in front of their building, and it was the primary access down to that portion of the park. So that is why I'm asking, because we have seen plans and comments, and we bring with us historical knowledge of potentials. So we're looking to understand what the plan will be, not those that are passing through necessarily, those that start or finish in the southern portion that have used Wagner for that purpose.
well, one of the options could be, and again, nothing is set in stone. We're still in discussion here. One of the options could be Esplanade Plaza.
The
It
volleyball
depends-
court.
It depends on the volume of the events. There are walkathons where you just have 50 people. They don't need no setup, maybe a tent. There are walkathons where you may have 120 people. They may have 3 pop-up tents. So it depends on the event. We ourselves are going to put a notice on our permit page to notify or maybe send out a blast email to all the people who use our parks in the past to let them know, hey, coming on such and such a date, Wagner Park would no longer be available. Okay, and we're going to put our heads together and come up with some solutions that has very little impact on the community the best we can. And we're not going to allow them to tell us so much what they want. We're going to tell them what we can do to accommodate the event.
And that may well be me. And then, Lucian, I'm going to let you speak. But that may well mean that we are saying to them, while Wagner Park and Battery Park are under construction, you cannot have your event in Battery Park City. That might be something we say for 2 years because it is a huge burden on the community. That's what I think. That's my feeling now. I heard what I heard. I did miss a piece of it because of technical difficulties, but I'd like to hear from this committee without making a final determination right here and now. We can talk about it again next month if we need to, but I am concerned because you're talking about West 10th Street. You're talking about perhaps the cul-de-sac. You're talking about Esplanade Plaza. These are all public access ways that are going to be taking on much more congestion of just the community use because we are losing Wagner Park. We're losing Battery Park for 2 years. And that's fine. We're doing it for a reason. I get that. But I wonder if sometimes no is a sentence. Lucian, then Robin.
Yeah, I think you all pretty much got there. I was going to recommend that since the authority, Nydia and Jamila, have a good idea of where the major concerns are in terms of starting points and end points for these run walks and races, that maybe they can come back next month or at least just create a list of which events had the start and stop in Battery Park City that would be affected by the Wagner closure, and then we could just kind of have an idea of how big the issue is in terms of number of events, and then kind of work with them as they approve or deny events to understand what the progress is. But I definitely think that there's a lot of new information for them to not kind of expect a full-on plan to be unfurled tonight. But I think that there's certainly a lot of really good fodder for consideration for them.
To me, that makes sense. And I'm happy to continue the conversation. But Nydia, I want you to hear us. All right. So I see Robin and I see Eric. So Robin and then Eric.
Robin, you muted.
Hi, Nydia. Oops. Nice to see you.
Are you?
I want to echo what Justine said. I think that for the larger events, we as a community need to be better and smarter about protecting the people who live in this community. And under different administrations at the authority, that's been better, and in some, not better. But with the closure of Wagner Park, the risk to the community of multiple events, I think, is large. And to say that we're not going to be hosting event A, B, C, and D for 2 years is not a tragedy. And I think in deference to the quality of life of people here, which will be negatively impacted by some of the things we've just talked about, it might make sense. Now, I would argue that if Pataki Way, or whatever we're calling that, could be a good substitute location, then there would be less of a need to not disallow events. But to the extent that you're walking large groups on West Thames Street, closing the very few avenues in this community is terrible. 9/11, the actual day when all of Battery Park City is completely shut down, not all of it, but most of it, is very difficult. It's 9/11, so it's 9/11. But, you know, these other events are for the most part discretionary, and there are other communities that could bear the brunt of the impact. And I would encourage, I didn't get your name, your new administration VP?
Jamelia, I've actually been here for a few years now, but yes, Jamelia.
Well, I've never met you, so hello, Jamelia. You know, I think it's important that that consideration be given on a temporary basis. Battery Park City has been home to many, many walks and is a wonderful destination, but I think we need to be mindful in light of all the problems that we're going to see over the next several months and years. So that's it.
Thanks, Robin. Eric?
I'm gonna kind of just mirror Lucian. I think they have ideas, and until I see a map or see like a final way of where you're going, because this Pulaski Way, if that's a thing, and it's a big place to have people go, but if it's being taken away, which I disagree with, then that's an issue. So I think we should just keep talking about it.
Yeah, I agree. So I guess Nydia, and then I see Nick, your hand is raised. I don't know if Lucian's hand is still raised, but Nydia and Jamelia, what I would
Yes.
ask is if we come back next, let's kind of wind this down now. Let's come back next month. Both of you come back and give us clear-cut places with a map, like with a chart, basically, to say, okay, this is what we're looking at here, there, so we can have an understanding of what races are what. Let's make sure that we talk about the Tunnel to Towers race, that's that. We talk about the Heart Run Wall Street race, that's that one. We know what we're talking about. We're all on the same page. And we just are clear, because I'm not trying to be obstructionist. I'm not trying to say, no, not in our neighborhood, none of that. It's just, it's going to be a lot. You're hearing a lot from, you know, about Wagner Park closing and losing open space and public space. It has been in the good days, the good old days before COVID, we were having walks or runs every single weekend in the spring, summer, and fall. We cannot do that with Wagner Park and Battery Park out of commission. So we're going to have to be careful, and we're going to have to be thoughtful about where stuff is going for 2 years, right? It's not forever. And, you know, we look at it that way. It will open up and it will be back and it will be accessible. But that's my feeling, and we'll come back. Nick, I'm going to let you close up. You got 2 minutes because I want to move on to the next topic. And I want to invite everybody back. But go ahead, Nick.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay, thank you. And thank you for this. Yes, exactly the type of conversation we always want to have with the community board without committing Nydia and Jamelia to next month, because I don't know. What I would say, though, is if it's helpful to you, what we can do as a result of this evening's meeting is send you the list of the events that we covered tonight, the large ones that we know are already happening. Most of the rest of what we discussed, while not unimportant, seems like we don't know yet the type of requests that we'll get. And yes, there in the past were lots of events, but if it's 20 people or 50 people, that really is not something that's going to have a real impact wherever it is. If it's a larger scale event that we have not yet received, then I think that's exactly the type of conversation we want to have with the community board and say, hey, looks like something new that is either completely new or coming back. Given the new normal, at least for the next few years, is this something that we want to entertain? And I think that's a fine conversation to have about whether or not the group should come through, and then if so, what path they can take. I just don't know that we're going to have, beyond the events that we gave you tonight, anything substantively new in the next 30 days. But I think it's a conversation we should certainly keep going, especially as new and or different events above and beyond what we already know is going to be planned for, a lot of which is dictated by PD, come to pass. Does that make sense? So
That
yes,
makes
we should get into the conversation. I just don't know that next month is going to reveal anything much more than we know now.
Can I
Yes,
add
that's
to that?
well, yeah, and then, yes, go ahead, Nia.
Just so you know, as far as applications coming in, and this is what gives us an idea of what events are coming back to Battery Park City. They don't start coming in until late December, January.
Okay.
So, we won't know as far as applications are concerned, what other events besides these events that are large scale events. But I wanted to ask you another question. I mean, Robin mentioned something that I thought was a good thing. She mentioned the Hudson Greenway. Are you guys open to that being an option?
Maybe. Isn't that our next conversation? Activation of the Pataki Parkway? That's our next. You can
Well,
stick
well,
Yeah,
around.
I think so. Just start marinating. I know you like to marinate.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's kind of where I want to go with this. As Nick, if we have these 3 walks and runs, the large ones in, let's get a clear understanding of what your vision is as to where they're going to start and stop, and let's have routes so we can look at it as Eric said, we kind of want to see where it's going, and that would be helpful. I think we can save resolutions if we need any. Betty, I'm fine. I mean, the good news is you're in both committees, so we can figure it out where it goes. And if it's affecting the streets and DOT, clearly it's going to go to you. But in terms of impact on Battery Park City, I think we have to have at least a discussion. But I hear you, Nydia, so maybe January is a better time to come back. But Nick, you've always done a pretty good job of presenting, so I don't know that we need Nydia and Jamelia here for nitty gritty stuff, but for the larger picture. And I really would think that anything that we come up with, maybe we just talk offline and we have a smaller meeting, and we sit down and look at the pictures and look at the routes. That would make some sense too, because I'm not looking to hold you on the spot. I don't think anybody here is.
No, as
And-
always, we'll keep the lines of communication open, but certainly.
I think
we
that
don't want any
sounds fair.
surprises for, hey, there's 10,000 people coming through and,
Yeah.
here's a brand new route that's going in front of Betty's front door.
And
Sorry, Betty.
closing down a street for even 2 hours, for 50 people, that might be a problem. It might not
Sure.
be, but depending on what street you're talking about, I don't know. So let's talk about it and be more clear as they come in, where the route is going to be, what are they talking about, what are the parameters, and even if we have to do it on a run by run or application by application basis, that might be what we have to do right now for the next 2 years.
Yeah,
Or at
let's-
least the
let's-
first year, and then once we have it down, then the next year is easy. A lot of our
Let's-
stuff is easy.
Let's talk about it, and we can overlay it with, I know, some of the conversations we wanted to have at a staff level with SAPO and PD, and kind of how that overlays with larger events in the district generally, in as much as either they touch Battery Park City or go through it, but sometimes these events are also in other places as well. And closures and other things are dictated by that. So it's kind of multifaceted. But yes, certainly should continue the conversation, and we can get Jamelia and Nydia involved as much or as infrequently as needed, but they're available to answer questions for us.
That sounds good. All right, let's close this topic down. Thank you both for coming. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And take care of yourselves, and happy
you.
Halloween a day late or 2 days late.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, Lucian, would you put up the agenda, please? All right, now the Pataki Way activation discussion. Let's try to keep this one to like a half hour because again, it's just going to be discussion, I think, at this point. And with that, so people know what the Pataki Way is. Once again, it is the area between along the West Side Highway on the east side of Battery Park City, and it is the bike path is the greenway, and the walkway is next to it, and then you've got either street or like little West Streets there or whatever, but you've got some roadway there, and that's what we're talking about is the walkway. The bike path will stay the bike path, and I think we probably need to move Varun over. I don't know who else.
It's just gonna be Varun and me tonight, Justine.
Okay, that's fine. So you can move Varun over, and we could just do a quick discussion. I know that we can do some clarification because we did a walkthrough, Lucian and I and Betty and Nick and Mimi, right? And Varun wasn't there, but we did a walkthrough, and so let's give some updates and parameters about the size of the space we're talking about. And go ahead, Nick.
I'm sorry, you could see that I'm busting. I get so excited.
I know, I can see it. So go ahead.
I get so excited about well put together PowerPoints. Would it be make you happy to know or unhappy to know that I have a very PowerPoint presentation, but it's brief. It's brief.
Yes, I'm happy for the PowerPoint presentation. I want to see pictures. I like pictures.
Wonderful. And thank you again. So just Justine kind of teed it up really well. We kind of broached this conversation in earnest last month's meeting, which, believe it or not, was only about 2 weeks ago, given the late calendar in September. I'm sorry, in October. So October 18th, we all met with you. And at that point, we said, let's start the conversation now about what, if anything, the community would potentially like to see as a temporary place space option or options for what is colloquially known as Pataki Way, but it's that Hudson River Greenway paved area from the top of Battery Place up through 3rd Street. And if so, what are some preliminary thoughts about what we might have? What we committed to you at that point was to be back to you at this evening's meeting to continue the conversation. And with that, we would bring with us some updated facts and stats and figures based on what we had heard from you, and also what we had gotten from or continued to get from the survey that we had put out that I think some of you or a few have filled out. So thank you for that. We did also, as promised at last meeting, kind of just a brief walkthrough with Lucian and Justine and Betty. I think it was last week, right? Because it's only been a couple of weeks since then. I won't belabor it. I'll let Lucian and Justine also comment on it. But the main takeaway I know for me was, to the extent that we would perhaps like to see something done, let's maybe thematically keep it light, and have it perhaps be something that can be built up or taken down, but not something that needs to be everything all at once. A light touch and maybe some seating or some light type of furniture that may be put out, but not something that was going to be overweening or overbearing or anything that was going to be unduly impactful to the community. So Betty, I see your hand. Varun has also joined us, who's a AVP of design. And then I have a short PowerPoint, but go ahead first and then let me know how you want to play it. Thank you.
Go ahead, Varun. Make sure you're on, right?
Oh, okay.
Wait, is that what you wanted to do, Nick? I'm sorry.
No, Betty had.
Oh, Betty had a question.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Betty.
No, I don't have a question. I was going to add on to the summary that Nick gave. And that was also if there were any activities where people would be doing something in a group, that there would be consideration of closing down for a few hours, or a couple hours, whatever the activity time was, Little West Street, and maybe using that space versus taking place on the actual greenway, the pedestrian path.
Yeah, that was a question, and that was a point raised because in terms of access for people who are mobility impaired, the greenway is a smoother, easier path. How's that to go down and go across versus the sidewalk by Little West Street or the street itself? So that's something we did talk about, and we would need to weigh in on. That makes sense. Thanks, Betty, for adding that.
Yeah, and sorry, Justine, I missed that walkthrough. I was out of town, but I did get the download from Mimi, and I think there's some really clear directions in terms of the light touch that Nick's talking about, and Mimi also mentioned our intent or direction to think about understanding pedestrian use after the Wagner site is enclosed and not accessible. I think that makes sense, and that'll give us better insight into how people are using that space. So I think we can take some of this and respond accordingly in the design.
That makes sense. And yes, that was a really good point, is that we just don't know what the use is or is not going to be right now. And sorry, I have to decline a call. That was step one, and having kind of traffic studies. What the first traffic study is going to take place once the park closes down, and then we see in the spring, and we go from there. And that would be an idea to see what's happening. So that was a really smart approach, I thought, a thoughtful approach. And then also, just for the clarification, because I do recall that folks like Sarah had made a question and concerns. I think that maybe Eric did too, or Jeff. The size of the space we're talking about, it's more like 26 feet is what the width is of the Pataki walkway, not 64 feet, because that would be from one side of the planter to the other side of the planter. And at the end of the day, we're not looking at this point, at least that's what our recommendation is. Don't do anything to those planters, leave them there. Let's work within the space that is open right now.
Correct.
So that was our discussion, and that was our plan, and that's the kind of low touch that Nick was referring to. So I think we can kind of wrap this up at this point for this discussion to say, keep thinking, have ideas. You guys still have your survey up, right?
Well, I have my little
Oh yeah,
deck.
do your show. Yes.
I mean,
Thank
what
you.
is going on here? Okay.
I love it. Sorry,
Justine,
I'm
do you
spaced out.
Lucian, do you want me to share or do you want to share?
I see it. It's
You
there.
got it. Okay. Thank you, Lucian. So we'll go through this pretty quickly, just to kind of give you an idea of what we're hearing so far, so you guys can continue all to marinate. Lucian, go ahead. You can go to the next slide, please. So we put the survey out on September 29th. We saw you guys on October 18th. Got some great local media coverage thus far in AM New York. The broadsheets covered it a couple of times in the Tribeca Trib. 111, I think, responses so far, up to, I think, and including today. And in parallel with our conversations with you all, the community board, who we're looking to lead the conversation with us, we're also looking to do outreach with some of the local schools, youth organizations, seniors, et cetera, to continue to get their feedback, whether by and through the survey or separately about some of the things that they would like to see, also including if they would not like to see certain things, also fine. We want to take all the information in. Go ahead, Lucian. Thank you. So the next thing that we have here is, this might be interesting for folks to see it. So far, what we're hearing on the survey responses we got so far, that other Battery Park City Parks utilized by the folks who are responding so far, looks like it's by far the South Esplanade, and then followed by South Cove, West Thames Park, and the North Esplanade at least, then into Rockefeller and West Thames. I'm not sure if that's because most of the respondents are from the southern part of the neighborhood. That may stand to reason, since that's where the area in question is. But nonetheless, that was an interesting data point. And Lucian obviously has his presentation. It'll be on our site as well for folks to dig into later. This is just what we're seeing so far in terms of data, which is always helpful to have.
Nick, when was this taken?
This is all the responses that have come in from when we opened the survey.
Got it. Thank you.
Now, yep. Next slide is the time of day most used. This was particularly interesting as well. And what we are seeing is not by far, but by a little bit, the late afternoon is the area, is the time of the day that folks are most using the parks in question, followed very closely by early evening. So that part of the day, it looks like probably after school or work. And then a slight drop off into early afternoon, morning hours being the least utilized, at least in terms of the group that's selecting to participate so far. Next slide gets a little interesting. So this was some of what we're hearing on the survey so far. So two sides to this graph, which is instructive to me to understand how to present it. On the left, what you have is some of the options in the survey that were presented about what folks may like to see. And you will see by far social and independent seating there at the bottom was the thing that got the most responses, followed by open space with some type of safety ground surface covering. That obviously would be something that would still be navigable by all sorts of devices. And then a bigger drop off to sports, pop-up concessions, etc. So those were kind of the answers that people can toggle on based on just the general thinking of what we've seen work elsewhere and what people perhaps might like to see or might not like to see. On the right side of the chart, you have, for those of you who have taken the survey, there's an open text field where you can kind of just narratively write in what you'd like to see. And there you see a plurality of answers, though far from majority, and obviously a lot less than even the social and independent seating. 20 folks said don't do anything. And then if you add up the rest of the answers, which I think is probably almost 2 to 1, it's other things, but not do nothing. It's children's play, it's sports, it's grass, it's pets, it's a green market, etc. But those are relatively low numbers. But we certainly did want to include it to make sure that folks know that there is not an overwhelming, but also not an insignificant amount of folks who say, don't do anything, which is something that we also want to hear and take under advisement if and as we proceed. Next slide, and I'm almost done, Justine. This is slide 5 of 7. This is now 6 of 7, so how's that for me going quickly? Just kind of summary or anecdotally what we're hearing, kind of rolling it up. We've heard a lot about retaining or expanding passive uses, including sitting and strolling, ensuring sufficient pedestrian circulation. That's something we're hearing fairly consistently, and obviously we're in 100% agreement with. You know, Betty had brought that up as well when we spoke, and Justine, leaving the walkway as is. Activities for kids, including sports and play, retaining, expanding natural elements of the greenway, which is interesting. And then the last one I thought was just so typical in government, but it's great. It's like an episode of Parks and Rec. It's food concessions and also opposition to food concessions. So that one is, you open it up, you're going to get all sorts of different responses, but those are kind of some of the main themes that we are hearing anecdotally so far. So as a next step, and not to belabor it, Justine, thank you. What we'd like to do continually is, as I said, Lucian, if you can go to that final slide, please. We would like to continue the conversation with you guys as community board, obviously. Kind of do some additional outreach or continued outreach with some of the local schools, youth, senior organizations, etc. Justine, Tammy, Betty, members of the committee, Jeff, you have other ideas about folks or organizations we can be reaching out to, please let us know. We'll either say we've already got a plan or, hey, thank you. We'll loop them into what we're thinking. We can send them the survey. We can do individual sit downs as well. We're going to also try to expand the survey out a little bit. I know, Tammy, you and I had spoken on email, but we're going to try and extend this out over at least through Thanksgiving weekend. So obviously, when you're sitting there having a drumstick or whatever it is you eat on Thanksgiving with your family, the first thing on your mind is going to be Battery Park City, clearly. And if you want to have that conversation with your family, you'll then also be able to reflect those thoughts in the survey, which we'll keep open for a little bit more. Anonymized survey data will be available once we close the survey. So sometime in December, we'll kind of get all the responses we received. We'll kind of sanitize it. It doesn't have personal information, and you'll be able to review the responses that we've received, same as we have done here. And while this is ongoing, this is important, we meaning mostly Varun and me and the team, so thank you, Varun, for that. We'll continue to kind of investigate certain ground covering and furniture, fixture, equipment options to support further evaluation. So what that means is, if when we next get together in December or January and you say, hey, we've kind of got our thoughts together, here's what we'd like to see, then if you say, I want to see A, B, and C being some tables and chairs or maybe some temporary turf that can be rolled in, we won't at that part be starting to say, okay, let's find out what it would cost. We would have basically some ideas about what some of these options might cost, depending upon what it is you'd want to see. And if we don't want to see anything, then that's also an option again, but we want to at least have kind of some suite of options and ideas about what the cost might be, depending upon what we're hearing and what you guys decide it is you'd like to see. So that's that. Happy to take questions. Varun, if I've misstated or said anything wrong, please correct me.
I just want to say one thing. I think we have a much better understanding of what the community is telling us and what they want. So I think we will have nothing fully cooked out or completed in design, but we'll have some ideas put together that respond to what exactly we're hearing, which is a much lighter touch, a passive approach, not touching any of the existing planters, all of that into account. And then just one other thing I wanted to add, and I know that this was also part of the conversation, perhaps during the walking tour, but I had a chat with Mimi about this. Is we could also be, while we're looking at ideas, we might even think about, is there a way to kind of test out small things in certain locations that we don't have to do everything all at once. We can just try out a small ideas here and there and see how community responds to that, and then take it from there. So that's another way to kind of approach this.
That sounds great, Varun. I'm gonna recognize Betty and then Tammy, but beforehand, I would say, Nick, I think that taking Betty's idea of possibly having activities that then would close down Little West Street, you might want to add that as some of the, and maybe she'll elaborate on this now, but as one of the questions to say, what would you think about closing down Little West Street for a period of time to have an activity?
Oh, yeah.
To get some information from buildings, like when they have deliveries, you probably can't do it when school's in session or, things like that. But you don't need to answer me this second. Let's let Betty go and then
Yes.
Eric. Let's do Betty, Tammy, then Eric.
I'll go after the other two, thanks.
Oh, okay. Then Tammy, or should I let Eric go first?
I would just like to weigh in
Oh.
on Little West Street very briefly. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
And again, not in a world otherwise unencumbered, kind of with all other considerations. I don't think it's in isolation the worst idea. I think at this point, we would not be looking at Little West Street, not least because there are obviously residential considerations there, including the street right outside people's homes. There are street surface conditions, there are parking considerations. It's not something I think at the time being we'd want to consider. I think we were looking at this point exclusively at, or not at, the Pataki walkway, but I think that would be for the time being the universe of what we were considering, unless I'm misstating that. But I think that's the current line of thinking.
Okay. Tammy, you first, and then Eric, then Betty.
I'll let Eric, and then I'll go because Betty did the walkthrough. So I'll do Eric, then me, then Betty, if you don't mind.
That's fine. Eric, go ahead.
I'll go. I still don't like it. And I understand that my view is from a child standpoint. And my anxiety as a father of 2 kids under 3 is directing me here. But portions of this walkway are open to the bicycle area and then to the walk area. And if you're having an area where kids are going to play, kids are going to run, and kids don't know when to stop. And my concern is there's a playground right across the street on West Thames where they are running and they're fenced in and they can play. We don't need to add another kids area there. I didn't go to the walkthrough. I meant to. I just got busy. A minimalist approach is the best in my book. I think with Wagner Park closing, that this area is going to see a lot more people. And if we're now taking this walkway away, and by the way, it's beautiful. If you go take a picture right now during fall, it's beautiful to sit there and take a photo. And now we're going to obstruct this. I see tourists taking photos all the time. I just don't think this is something we need to do. We don't need to do this, but that's my point of view.
No, thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing on this one. Thank you. All right, go ahead, Tammy, and then Betty.
So Nick, I would, Pataki Way and all of the parks are a very large part of Lower Manhattan and used by the variety of, obviously, downtowners. There is a school across the street, a college and a university that I think could be reached out to see with Metropolitan College. Most of their team commute in, but that would be very interesting, as well as the residents on the other side of West Street, to be a little bit more inclusive of other places in Lower Manhattan.
I'm sorry, Tammy. MCNY, you said? I just want to jot this down.
MCNY, the 1 West Street residential building and the one behind that.
Yep.
Forgot the address of those. all of those buildings, again, would be good to see if you can do outreach to any of the buildings basically that get all the way up to 90 and including 90 West on the other side of West Street in terms of inclusion. Obviously the schools, obviously, the youth groups and things like that, and the schools could help direct you to others. In terms of Little West Street, I'm delighted to hear that you're not considering it. I could think of many, many, many issues along with activation with deliveries, loading docks, bus circulation for the schools, DOT, DOS, street clean, and everything else that kind of goes with that street, because it is the primary and sole front door to two buildings along 2 out of 3. It certainly does seem to be probably not our best choice. And as far as like F&B pop-ups, the only thing that concerns me, and it's a conversation that we've talked about in terms of what's going to happen in Wagner as well, there's a large rat population that lives in all of the beds that are there. Massive concerns about when you start to dig ground up all the way around where those rats are going. I suspect if that Pataki Way and the beds there would be a very wonderful place there. So the addition of any kind of food and beverage needs to be extraordinarily carefully considered. And at the same time, I would not want to hurt our existing restaurants and food and beverage that we have that are recovering from the pandemic. We don't want to put anything that's competitive in front of their front doors. We're happy we're back. We're happy people can go out. Let's not kill them. And I appreciate all the feedback that you gave us with the survey. That's really wonderful. I think that number of 20 is relevant enough that it actually should go on your bar chart because it's equal to one of the other respondents that are there.
That
So
20 was the 20 who say do nothing?
Right. No, that was just a matter of,
but
the
it
bar
should,
chart was just the one, the prefab answers versus but yes, I understand. I understand what you're saying. It's not insignificant, which is why we wanted to include it.
and if you do decide to take Little West Street off the table at this point, please adjust the survey knowingly or put an option in there for people to say, yes, I think I'd like I as you mentioned, I don't think it's feasible based on the types of usage it has. So in that case, I'd put that large on there that is not on the table at this point so people know. And with that, thank you very much for the time and thank you for the details. The slideshow is great.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
thank
it
you.
is great. Thank you. And thanks, Tammy. Betty, you go next. I would agree, but I want to give Betty her space to say about Little West Street because she did have concerns. Go ahead, Betty.
No, I'm very glad with what I'm hearing from people with being flexible and that there's a lot of call for doing very passive activities. Those things all sound very positive. Yet at the same time, there's still mention of children's play activities, which to me is the most concerning thing. So I'm very glad, Eric, that you spoke up because I couldn't agree with you more. I also want to mention that the survey I found very challenging, so I'm hoping it's going to be dramatically changed because there's no mention of how you use the area's closing for transportation purposes. How do you as a pedestrian use what are you going to lose? You as a cyclist, what are you going to lose? Because you're not going to have the Esplanade anymore. You're not going to have one side of the street on Battery Place. You're going to have lots of complications, which are going to drive you to other locations, just as the play activities are. Unlike the play activities, which could move to the many other parks in Battery Park City, as well as those in the south that are going to be unaffected, luckily, while Wagner's closed. Transportation is not so easy to move. If you're traversing a certain area, you need to traverse a certain area. So I would suggest the survey also go to transportation alternatives. You've got to reach out to cyclists because they are going to be very heavily affected. Why? Because they already have been complaining quite a bit about the pedestrians that wander into their space anyway, as well as the joggers, as well as the skaters and everybody else. It's not just bicycles. But I do have an advocacy group for at least the bicycles. So yes, I'd like to see a change in the survey because I found it didn't suit any of my concerns whatsoever. And I'm going to expect the same from anybody who's concerned about transportation is going to find the same problem.
Okay, Betty, thank you. I will take it back to the project team and see what we can
Let them know.
do with respect to the survey.
Yeah, thank you so much. Because Nick, the one thing that Betty is making a note of with the bicyclists, I will say as an avid bike rider down around that neighborhood, getting my bike either from the bike station, the city bike station in front of 50 or 70 Little West, or West 10th Street bike station, pedestrians don't tend to walk down there because it's just not accessible easily now. Once Wagner is closed and the Battery is closed, they are going to be there, and you're going to have them walking every place like they do farther north. You go north of Albany Street and the pedestrians are walking all in they don't understand, and they're in the bike path. So it's going to become a problem where it's not necessarily in that little stretch right now. So once again, doing the traffic study once it's closed is going to be really important. And I really appreciate the partnership that you're giving us and the transparency here and the continued dialogue. And so, yeah, let's just keep this going. Anybody else? I don't see any other hands I don't see any hands in the chat. So I think maybe we can close this one down. Varun, thank you so much for coming and spending the time on the call. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
And let's keep talking.
Yep.
All right. So, Lucian, if you can pull up the agenda next. And let's see, what am I looking at here? So I think that for our next agenda item is community priorities for the Joint Purpose Fund, which is a Battery Park City Joint Purpose Fund. Or I would ask that perhaps, well, we'll see. Victoria had asked me earlier in the day as district leader. I see her here in the chat. She would like to speak at some point. I know one of the things she's going to speak about. So if you could move her over as a panelist, that would be great. If not, when I call on her, we can, she can unmute herself, but that's totally fine with me. So let's talk about it. What is the Joint Purpose Fund? All right. For those of you that don't know, and I think pretty much everybody on this call, at least the Battery Park City Committee, knows what the Joint Purpose Fund is. We could know that the Battery Park City collects ground rent, pilot, and civic fees from the residents and commercial and residential buildings in Battery Park City. That money goes into a pot at a certain percentage. And I was lucky enough to be sitting at the Battery Park City Authority's board meeting where they gave their 2023 revenue projections. And the money that comes in, they're going to keep off and they're going to put in one side their operating costs and their bond payments. So that's going to go here. Once they do that, from their projections, they're going to have $210 million left over to give to the city. How that money is spent is by contract that's been set up from the existence of Battery Park City to go a portion to the general purpose fund of the city and a portion to this joint purpose fund. Based on their projections, 19% of that $210 million is going to the joint purpose fund in 2023. That's a short scenario. There is no guarantee in any year what amount goes into the joint purpose fund. There is no guarantee or a requirement how much money is given over to the city of New York as per the contract. That said, this joint purpose fund has been in existence pretty much since the beginning of the Battery Park City Authority, and it has gone to fund many laudable things. I know when I first moved to Battery Park City back in the 1990s, part of what I was told was, yes, it's a little bit more expensive to live here because part of what you're doing is paying for affordable housing around the city, because the money that's left over after the Battery Park City Authority pays its bills to keep its light on, operating expenses, and any bond debt servicing that they have goes to the city, and that pays for affordable housing. Well, that was a very high level, not clear understanding. But as we've broken it down, it has gone to some other things besides affordable housing. But I can say with, I think, pretty much 100% accuracy, no place in the city of New York does it say this affordable housing building or this affordable housing was paid for or brought to you by the residents and commercial tenants of Battery Park City, because there's no clear-cut monies being spent on affordable housing in a way that makes any sense. This joint purpose fund has been the prior iteration of it, the contractual purposes have been fulfilled. So now we're at the stage where there's going to be a new contract or new amendment to the contract as to how the joint purpose fund priorities are going to be, the money is going to be spent. This is not a decision that is made in a vacuum by the Battery Park City Authority. This is a decision that is made by the city and what they do with it. And there's a contract there as to how it goes about. I know that this committee has put forth at least one resolution, if not more than that, asking that the Battery Park City community, as well as Community Board 1, be given a seat at the table because Battery Park City is in Community Board 1 and because Battery Park City funds the Joint Purpose Fund. We feel as if we have a certainly a vested interest, and more than that, in deciding kind of, or having a say in how that money is spent. Part of why that I put this on the table today is because this is being discussed. Lucian, I think I can say that we've got some folks here from the Controller's Office. At this point, I'm not going to put them on the spot. They don't have to talk, but I would like them to listen. I am really happy to say that we've got some elected officials, representatives here. And like I said, we've got Victoria Fiorella, who is here. She is our district leader. And I'd like to open this up first to our board for discussion and comments as to possible ways in which this money can be spent. But what I have heard, and I heard at the Battery Park City Authority board meeting last week, was it, Nick, or the week before? This money is looking to be spent on affordable housing. And I think that's a laudable goal. And I think that part of what we would like to see, okay, now I'm going to speak first since I'm the chair. What I would like to see are a couple of things. I would like to see some of this money coming back to Battery Park City, because one of the issues that we're having in Battery Park City is that it is not affordable for everybody to live here. We're having problems with people not being able to pay their rent. We have seen Gateway Plaza with the latest iteration of the contracts with Lefrak. People's rents are now I have people who've come to me and said that their rent is being increased to the tune of between 40 and 90% of an increase. And that's legal. They can. I have seen, and I'm part of a homeowners coalition where we're seeing the ground rent discussions falling flat, where we cannot make any deal or any kind of resolution that addresses affordability for the people who are paying and being forced out of their homes by the ever spiraling increases in taxes. And that taxes include ground rent and pilot. So that's back once again, the Comptroller's Office. Both of those things will affect you. Another area where I know Victoria is going to speak about it, but I'm going to raise it as an issue. We are concerned about perhaps having some of this money go to pay for 100% affordability at 5 World Trade Center, and a commitment to help funding that as a goal of affordability and making it possible. And I think there's going to be folks here who are going to have some things to say, and I'll let them speak for themselves. That said, there's also a huge need of homelessness population, a huge need for repairs at NYCHA, and all this money should be going towards affordable housing, and all of it, because part of the deal here is, how do you define affordable? And affordable to me means middle class as well as the very low income folks, and keeping people in their homes. And the people in Battery Park City, I think anyone who's come here to buy or even rent understands that we pay more than any place else in the city just because we are funding elsewhere. And what we're asking is that you help us stay in our homes, as well as helping bring some diversity, socioeconomic diversity, as well as racial diversity to Lower Manhattan. And this is a possibility that can be done with this joint purpose fund. All right. Anybody on the committee? I see Jeff Galloway's hand raised. So Jeff, unmute yourself and speak.
Yeah, I have some questions. I want to understand how this process works. And oh, Nick, I'm glad you're still here, and perhaps you can answer. Um, it's unclear to me. I mean, Justine, you just laid out a whole bunch of things the fund could be spent for, and we know historically it's been spent for various things. There are projects in the South Bronx, projects in Harlem, and so forth that funds have been spent on from Battery Park City. But it's unclear to me who decides and how that decision is reflected. And I'm wondering, Nick, if you can elaborate on that. I mean, when the money is spent on a project in Harlem, is that the result of an agreement that the authority and the controller and the city signed off on? Or does the agreement among those parties simply say, City of New York, you spend it on affordable housing, and then they decide what they're going to spend it on? So in terms of the specific, not the general categories of usage, affordable housing, transportation, or whatever the general categories are, but the specific uses of the fund, who decides that, and to what extent does the authority have a role in that decision?
Hey there. Thanks, Jeff, and good evening, everyone, again. Good question. My understanding of it, and I'm pretty sure I'm right on this, I will confirm, but essentially the way it gets kind of manifested is that the three parties, the mayor's office, the controller's office, and BPCA agree to the amount and the timing and the buckets for the joint purpose fund. So for instance, in the previous agreement that was struck in 2010, that was between, I guess, then Mayor Bloomberg, Controller Liu, and Governor Cuomo, it was 800, don't ask me how they came up with 861 million. Justine knows this better than I do, but it was $861 million. And the excess revenue would go in different buckets to fulfill that. 200 million to the New York State General Fund, 200 million to the New York City General Fund, 200 million to New York City Affordable Housing, and 261 million to the New York City Capital Fund, which was at that point, and I guess maybe still that bucket of it, dedicated to affordable housing. So what ends up happening in the next kind of agreement is TBD in terms, and also in terms of what form or shape it takes. But to answer your question in kind of a roundabout way, my understanding of it is we would understand that a certain amount of money would be dedicated to affordable housing. The specificity of where that goes or what project it goes to is not something that the Battery Park City Authority would have to say. That would, I guess, be housing agencies and entities that have an expertise in developing or repairing affordable housing. What we do essentially is just kind of pass that money through based on the agreement in terms of where the bucket should be and how much should be in it.
So to some extent, that suggests that a lot of the goals that Justine, you were talking about are to be advocated to the city. But I suppose, let me ask a kind of a follow-up question, Nick. As far as you're aware, historically, this fund in one incarnation or another has been around since, I guess, the 1980s or maybe the early 90s. Has there ever been a time where the authority attempted to or did specify a particular project or narrower class of project than just affordable housing somewhere? I mean, where I'm leading is, would it be appropriate for the authority, if it so chose, to say 100 million of this fund will be for affordable housing in Lower Manhattan or in Battery Park City or at 5 World Trade Center or whatever, pick your favorite project. Is that something that would be possible in the agreement that you are reaching with the controller and the mayor's office? Or is that level of specificity something that our sole negotiating partner, so to speak, would be the City of New York?
It's a good question. I don't know enough to know. In the past, back in 2010, it far predates me. So I don't know. I don't imagine so, but I don't want to say for sure. Folks who have been at the city level, certainly in the roles either before me or who still may be there, might be, or not the folks who are necessarily on from controller's office tonight, because they might be in their seats shorter than I've been in mine. But somewhere in the controller's office, they would also maybe have a kind of a deeper understanding of the history of that. I don't know that the authority has the authority or the ability to go down to that level of specificity. And even if it did, again, it's mostly driven, not entirely, but mostly driven by the city of New York. Because again, as we know, Battery Park City Authority, we do great work and we're very proud of it, and the relationships we built with the community. But in this instance, we essentially serve as a pass-through for the money that would otherwise go to the city anyhow. To the extent that we keep it here and are able to work on projects to direct benefit of Battery Park City, we do it. But at the end of the day, it's the city's money.
So, and Nick, that's exactly how, as I understand it. Now, we certainly would ask you to be joining in, but it is a contract. I'm really pleased that the comptroller's office has come. I'm hoping that we can get someone from the mayor's office to come and have this discussion, because if we're not given a seat at the table in the actual discussions, I think it is really important for this community board, especially this committee, to weigh in on possible, or what we would prioritize as uses for this joint purpose fund, since the money is coming from Battery Park City. And again, they're going to make the final decision. I think the good news is it seems that affordable housing seems to be the broader border, what they're looking at right now. But again, no guarantees that that's what's going to happen. But the other side of the coin is that we're having this conversation. So weighing in and having the comptroller's office at least hear what our committee thinks about would be priorities and what the community thinks are priorities. It's certainly valuable. Do they have to listen to us? No, but they certainly would be worthwhile hearing us. And that's what I'm going to be asking each of you to do, is to weigh in and have an opinion. And I see Tammy has her hand raised, so please speak, Tammy. You have to, no, it's okay, yeah.
I gotcha. Go back on camera. So, Nick, I know that the state controller's office has signed off on this before. He was intimately involved in the discussions. He's been around a very, very long time. So we do think that there is a dialogue that the BPCA could have with the state controller's office to bring forward some of the discussions that the community is having. There is a place for that. The other thing I wanted to note about when we're talking about this was the original mission of the Battery Park City Authority. And when it went through from the joint statement down to further, was that 2/3 of the 15,000 apartments that were set to rise in Battery Park City were supposed to be for lower moderate incomes. Okay. In 2010, the mission statement under Chairman Michiel changed. And there were lots of changes that were made to that, which was fine, but it is still a public benefit corporation. When you take a look at what the money has been done in terms of where it has gone and things like that, the city has not actually funded the affordable housing it was supposed to, and each mayor had a different reason. The Battery Park City Authority failed on its initial creative mission from '69 to retain 10,000 affordable housing units in perpetuity. So when we're looking at this, we're actually looking at the sustainability of the community. We're looking at what has been done in the past, and we're looking at really setting a groundswell forward in having this dialogue come from the grassroots of what this authority was supposed to have done in its initial upbringing. Affordable, diverse, socioeconomically diverse. There is no chance that our words are being brought to the state controller without your support. So I don't know if it's BJ. I don't know if it's Eric. I don't know if it's you. I don't know if it's Pam. I don't really care who from the Battery Park City Authority it is, but I would request as chair of Community Board 1, that the dialogue we have here go forward. If we need to do a resolution, forwarding the past resolution that we said about please include us in the discussions in a letter to everybody again, because I'm pretty sure we did something a couple years ago. I'm happy to, but
We did
wouldn't
something
think-
not long ago, within the
Right.
past year.
And I would not think that it would be hard for what we do here to get beyond this meeting. And that is an engagement concern that we have brought up to you, that when we do this and it goes, does the board know what we've said? Did the controller get that letter of the authority? You know, we can send it to the controller of New York State, and we will, but we want a commitment that the Battery Park City Authority will share the information internally for what we're discussing here. I mean, you can't promise me you'll go back to the original mission. That is what that is. But in our efforts to go forward, we want to ensure that in our dialogues, the information from here goes through systemically the organization and then up as a partner.
Because it matters. It's the city controller that we care about. It's the state controller. It's the governor. It's the mayor. All of these things.
Right,
You've raised
but
it
I
all,
mean,
Tammy.
The state authority in our neighborhood talks to the
All
state
these people.
controller.
Yes.
The state controller has to sign off on it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a question for Nick.
Okay, thank you. You may have information I don't know that the state control signs off on it. But if you're telling me that, I'm not going to say that you're wrong. I don't know. I know that the three parties involved are the mayor, the controller, and the governor by and through BPCA. I don't know what, if any, role the state controller has, but again, but yes, in the past, what I've said to Justine, and I actually told her this last week when I saw her at the board meeting, was, and I've always said this, you guys shouldn't be shy about advocating for the things that you want. So put in a resolution what it is you want to see, in addition to what you said already, which you want to see at the table, fine. But if there's any more specificity around that, of course, put that out there so you're on the record. And then, of course, we will share it, as we always do, with the folks who need to see it. But it's also helpful for the community board to be on record saying, hey, these are the things that we called for, and knowing that this is the time that this new kind of renewal of the settlement agreement is being discussed. The last thing I would add, and I know, Tammy, we talk about it often, is there was the original master plan for Battery Park City in 1969, but there was a second one, and that's the one that got implemented in 1979. And what happened in the intervening years, as you all know, is that New York City flirted with kind of being on the brink of bankruptcy, and there was a change in kind of that thinking. So kind of the idealistic vision for what Battery Park City might be was not eventually what Battery Park City became when it was built. So the 1969 master plan is not the one that was implemented. It was 1979 one. And ultimately, the decision that was made at the time by people in the seats well before we were, is that where the affordable housing wanted to be, people wanted to keep the affordable housing in their neighborhoods where they were and have the authority money funded there. I'm
Nick,
not
that's
saying
not accurate.
that that's,
Yeah.
It was both. There was supposed to be affordability within Battery Park City
and there is,
and money funded out from the additional funds.
That's
That
correct.
was with the agreement. But the
Right.
but the housing in Battery Park City, there was still supposed to be affordability. It was never meant to be Park Avenue South, not built to be a luxury enclave.
And that's
It
what it's
was it was
become.
not it, even in 79.
That's correct. And that is what it was changed to by Dennis Mihil when he was the chair, when he was on the authority board, the chairman of the board. That's when things changed. So no, you are correct. There were some changes earlier, but the destruction of affordable housing in Battery Park City came with the changes instituted by Dennis Mihil. All right, I see a lot of people's hands raised. I'm going to do Betty first, then Mariama, and then I see Victoria. So I'm going to do it in that order. I have to do my board first.
Yeah, no, let me go last. Thanks.
Then Mariama.
Yeah, I just wanted to share the city's mission statement with regard to affordable housing. So it says that they, quote, seek to work with local residents, elected officials, and community groups to create and preserve affordable housing that fosters more equitable, diverse, and livable neighborhoods by crafting neighborhood-specific housing plans, and request proposals for public sites, which 5 World Trade Center is, on the community's vision, values, and priorities. This is on HPD's website, nyc.gov/ an HPD thing. Where everybody can find it, and I can share the link if you want. So I think that any money that's going to the city with an intention to be used toward affordable housing, that 5 World Trade Center is the perfect site to suggest that it be used at. It just goes along with their mission and ours.
And ours, yes, because you're part of the coalition for 100% affordability at 5 World Trade Center, Mariama, as well as being on the community board.
Absolutely, I am.
Yes.
Yes, and a community board member and the district leader of 65 Park
That's
Street.
right. Yes, that's right. New district leader. Okay, so then
Ladies,
Victoria.
I'm just going to warn you. Remember, district leader is not a title we use in CB land because it's a political affiliation.
Oh.
It is not a elected office.
Oh, so we can't say that. Okay, nice to know. I did not know that. So then I cannot.
I wasn't trying to promote it. I was just trying to be transparent.
Look, I mean,
Yeah.
I am so happy that we are fortunate enough to have the people who want to fill those roles also speak up in our community board realm. That's the most important thing, is activism. So I just need to make sure that we don't tail off into a comment.
All right, there you go. Victoria, unmute yourself and go ahead.
Sure, I think I'm unmuted, right? You can hear me?
Yes, you were unmuted. I could hear you. Now you're good. And now you're unmuted.
Okay. All right, good. So I want to first just quickly say thank you to Justine for running this meeting and for bringing this up, and wanted to echo what Justine was saying about having a seat at the table. I do think a resolution and following up on that is incredibly important. I think it only makes sense that the members of Battery Park City, the residents of Battery Park City, have at least an ability to express their preference when this happens. And also, I want to echo what Tammy was saying, that I would hope that the Battery Park City Authority would stand behind the community and help advocate and echo what the community is calling for. So obviously, we all know that affordability is a huge issue. This is big. So full disclosure, I am a member of the Coalition for 100% Affordable 5 World Trade Center. And as Mariama said, this is a perfect use for some of the funds from the Joint Purpose Fund, because this would address a number of things. One, a lot of things actually that Justine brought up. One of them is the idea of, like, where are these funds going? We don't know. They tend to go into a black hole of affordability, and we have no idea what happened to it. If we have a designation for the 5 World Trade Center, then we can actually say, look, we can show how the funds are being used. Secondly, this is, the coalition is calling for preference for 9/11 survivors and first responders, so many of whom live in Battery Park City and are being priced out of Battery Park City. So this would be an opportunity for some of them to have affordability. Again, the proposal that the coalition has right now is 30% for deeply affordable, 30% middle affordability, and then 30%, 100% AMI. So this would give true diversity to the downtown area. It's not Battery Park City, technically, I guess. It's not, but it's so close. It's our neighbors. It's part of our fabric. So I think this would be such a wonderful statement in so many ways from the Battery Park City. It's the funds from the Battery Park City, the joint purpose funds from the Battery Park City Authority are actually used for this. So I would ask that a resolution would ask specifically for some portion of these funds be dedicated to 5 World Trade Center to provide affordable housing that has been lost. As you've heard Tammy and you've heard Justine say, we have lost thousands, and we could have, I won't talk about Gateway because I get very, very upset. but Gateway Plaza has been a huge loss to our neighborhood, and we are losing the last people who came back after 9/11 to help rebuild because we don't have the affordability. And this is a perfect opportunity for this. I think it would be a wonderful thing. I would ask the community board to consider this as part of the resolution.
Thanks so much, Victoria. I appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
And I think it's really important to also note how much diversity we have lost, as noted in the last 2020 census. I believe that I'm going to go from memory now. I think that oh God, I can't do the memory, but we are down to like 4%, I believe, of Black and brown people. Latinos are down to 7%. Is that correct? And Asians are down to, is it 4%? And the rest is all
Asians are at 16.
16%. Thank you, Mariama. And it is just become, Lower Manhattan has become really truly an enclave for the wealthy, and it is just not, it's not what the mission was for Battery Park City. It was not what the vision was, and we could do better. And part of it is looking at 5 World Trade Center. That is one piece of it, but also in Battery Park City, trying to figure it out. I mean, I'm going to throw out there the fact that we've been trying to negotiate ground rent relief. We've been trying to figure things out. We're not getting any place with it because the authority, well, forget why. We're not getting anywhere at this point in time. With that said, one way in which something can be given back to the community, Battery Park City community would be to put a percentage. I don't think we can go with figures, because one of the best things about the Joint Purpose Fund is we don't know how much money is going to go into it every year. So there's no guarantee. One year it could be $1, one year it could be $40 million, right? So with that said, if we take a percentage and allocate it to different things, to keep affordability in and keep and increase affordability in Lower Manhattan, that would be a huge thing. All right, my soapbox. Betty, you're next. Go ahead. And then I do see Pat Gray's hand raised as a attendee, so she'll be next if I don't. Yeah, Betty. Betty, Nick, then Pat Gray. Okay, Nick Spordone, then Matt. Go ahead, Betty.
Great, thanks. I have a slightly different perspective, so you can boo me. I've never lived anywhere where I have had any say with how taxes are spent. I've always paid taxes. I've never had any say. So it's kind of mind-blowing to me that people think they have the right to say where their tax money goes, very specifically. But moving beyond that, I am very sorry there are people who have problems with affordability where they live. I live on savings. My cost of living well exceeds any income that I have. So I can appreciate their problems. I can also appreciate how much I had to struggle to save for the many years of my life. And many of the people who are talking about wanting assistance make way more than I do, have equal or more education than I do, that they're not the poor. My concern really is that spending it in our district, but especially in our neighborhood, is really just perpetuating who has money, keeps the money, and their housing. At the same time, your neighbors know, I don't really want to know who I'm subsidizing with the money that I'm spending for my taxes. I would rather subsidize into a pool and not know that the money is specifically being tracked to these people. What I'm hearing sort of sounds like we should know where it's going. Why? So those people have to come and say, thank you, Battery Park City, because I couldn't afford to live where I do if you didn't give me money to help me out of my problem. I don't like that relationship from either angle. So I am happy with not knowing exactly where the money is going, and I certainly don't expect that knowledge either. I understand the devotion to the 9/11 survivors. There are people like me, a lot of them, who've had our own issues in life. It's been 22 years. I didn't live here, so I'm not protected because I'm not a hero who lived here during that period. But you know what? I've lived with paralysis. I've lost with losing my profession. I've lost with losing family members. I've lost, like everybody else, life has gone on and a lot of things have happened to them. So when you start targeting one group is going to be protected, that's another issue of one group against another in the neighborhood that I find unappealing at best. one, I don't need them to thank me. On the other hand, I don't really like to know if my costs get where I get forced out, because you're just shifting who has the cost burden. And I don't think you appreciate that issue. There seems to be this dichotomy of those who are wealthy and will have no problems, and those of us who have trouble today, and so we need to be helped. And there's a much finer line of a continuum of people. So it's just a matter of who gets pushed over. And I appreciate the authority for looking at that reality that shifting the burden doesn't really solve the problem. It merely shifts the problem. So I'm not for anything that would jeopardize the affordability of other people in Battery Park City. And I speak to those that I've spoken to with paying rents and other things, that some of these cost shifts are going to just push some of them out of the market as well. So it's a net loss. It's not a net gain, at least. So that's my comment. I think more thought has to be put into that with some of these decisions being made. Thank you.
Betty, thank you for sharing. The only thing I'm going to respond to, because you know that I totally disagree with everything that you said, but that's okay. That's a dichotomy we have. But one thing that I do think is incorrect is we just finished the whole budget priorities, whereby we are telling the city of New York how we want our taxes spent. What do we want done? This is just the same thing, except we're talking to the Battery Park City Authority. To me, it's the same thing. We want a street light fixed. We want to have the roads fixed here. We want a new school. That is how we want our taxes spent if we're talking to the city. Our budget priorities ask for that. So this is what this joint purpose fund would be asking. And it's not focusing the bulk of it in Battery Park City. To be clear, it is not. The biggest need is outside of Battery Park City, but some little relief in Battery Park City would be appreciated for those of us who are being forced out by their taxes. Okay, that's the reality, saving or not saving. I will call on you, Mariama. I'm going to call on Robin. And then you, what I said, yes.
And you were going to call on Pat. I'm not trying to skip them. I just wanted
Okay.
to say something else.
Hi, thanks, Justine. I just wanted to respond to one of the things that Betty said, which was her statement that she's never really gotten to choose how money is spent in her community. But the reality is that in Battery Park City, we don't vote for the people who represent us. We're an authority. We're not a typically democratic branch of government. And if we don't like how the authority has decided to earmark the money, we have no recourse. If you live in the city, New York City, on, I don't know, 80th Street, you get to choose your elected representatives who in turn affect what the tax rates are. So I think the fact, there's been a lot of research done and a lot of talk about the authorities and how it's not really a democratic process. It's a workaround. And we know that from Port Authority and from MTA, and there are dozens of them around the state. So, I think that having a seat at the table, whether that's on the board or whether that's playing a role in the disbursement of the funds, is really important to democracy. And I do agree that while the intentions at the time of the creation of Battery Park City was to support affordable middle class or whatever housing, a noble cause, that some of that money should accrue to this neighborhood. And I do not think it has. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Oh, wait, wrong. Yeah, sorry, wrong. Oh, gotta remember to do this. All right. So, Mariama, can I call Pat next, please? So if you unmute Pat, that would be great. And then Mariama, and then Nick. I really am not ignoring you.
Hear me? Yeah, I'll get some signs. Okay, good. I'm sorry, but I just have to respond to the person, to Betty Kay, just in one area alone. Although, like, you indicated that there are no poor people on this committee. There are no poor people advocating for this. And yeah, that's true. But how would they be here? You know, they're not members of this community. How would they be here? If someone doesn't speak for them, do they have no voice at all? That's just my response to that. What I want to say, I had a number of things I wanted to say, but I think that Mariam and Victoria has pretty much said them. But what I would add is that between what happened in the change in the mission statement in 1969 and 1979, that and the fact that our money or Battery Park City money is going to affordable housing elsewhere, right? It sort of casts us in a light of being in a NIMBY situation, not in my backyard. We can't have it, and we don't want to have it. We're sending it elsewhere. And I think we should really consider that's very poor representation of who we are as people. I don't think that that's true, but I think it could be interpreted that way. And I think it's time that we take these things into our own hands as far as who we can speak to, and pushing and just pushing and pushing to be able to speak to remedy the situation. We are so resource rich here. We have so much to offer everyone, things that we get offered. We should be sharing them. I guess that's really all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pat, and so well said. I agree with you. And I think that I guess I do need to say, maybe Mariama, you're going to speak to this, and I'll let you finish it up if you are. But as a 9/11 survivor, two-time cancer survivor of 9/11, we've got people on our committee who are struggling with cancer right now. There are people who aren't here in the call right now because they're not well at the moment. We have members of this community board who have died from 9/11 cancers. I do think that there's a special responsibility for Lower Manhattan and Battery Park City to step up and take care of the people who came back to rebuild Lower Manhattan after 9/11, after Hurricane Sandy. And one way in which to do it is to help the people who stayed here. So I've been here since the 90s. Okay, so I was here through 9/11. There are people here on this call who've been here since Battery Park City opened. I do believe that there is some basis to keeping people in their homes. I also believe that by 5 World Trade Center focusing on the survivors of 9/11 and the first responders of 9/11, 2001, it is opening up 5 World Trade Center to all of Lower Manhattan, to Staten Island, to Brooklyn, to all of the United States, really, because there are survivors of 9/11 and first responders that came from Washington, D.C., that came from Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Do I know that they want to live here? I don't know that, but I can tell you that I am also part of the coalition for 100% affordability at 5 World Trade Center. And when I gave the speech, our latest rally that we had, I was speaking and saying this, and we were being, guarded, if you want to call it, by oh, good Lord, help me. It was
Port Authority Police.
Thank you, Port Authority Police, and they were listening, and they came to me afterwards and asked me, "What were you talking about us?" And I said, "Of course I was. And he said, "Well, my father was here. He's actually sick right now." I said, "So you would be a survivor through your father, and in fact, now you are a first responder." All of these things. It is frustrating because part of it, Betty, I get the fact of being physically challenged, if that's the right way to say it. I don't even know what to say. Not able, I forget the proper phrase, but so am I. And this is not from cancer. This is something that I've had my whole life, alopecia. I understand what it's like to be looked at as othered. I understand what it's like to struggle. And that's one piece of it. It's different. I know I can walk, I can run. I get it. But it's not always the easiest thing in the world. And it's not, it shouldn't be a contest. Shouldn't be a contest between, oh, you were a first responder and a survivor, but you only just lived here, or you just worked here, or you were a student. There are so many people all over the country who would be benefiting from having the ability to live at 5 World Trade Center as a preference for 9/11 survivor or first responder. And it also would be an amazing thing to do to allow teachers and doormen and firemen and policemen to work and live in the same place. And that is what my vision of Lower Manhattan should be. And that's where we should be going. And where I would like to see some funds from the Joint Purpose Fund is to make that possible, whether that's in Battery Park City, whether it's in Lower Manhattan or at 5 World Trade Center. That's what I think. But okay, I'm shutting up now. Nick, I've made you wait too long. And then Mariama, is that okay? You close it up, Mariama.
Do Mariama first. Do Mariama first.
Okay, Mariama, go ahead.
So I'm not going to boo Betty either, but I do completely disagree with her. And I think you mentioned one of the ways that we do get to chime in on how our taxes are spent. We did do it in the budget process here. It's done in, numerous city agencies when they hold a hearing. The purpose of the hearing is to hear from the public as to how they should go about spending our money. Okay, that's another reason. Some people would call it taxation without representation if you didn't have a right to speak up. This is what our Constitution states is required. So I completely disagree with you on that you shouldn't have a right to say how your taxes are spent. We do it every day. It's part of our democracy and the democratic process. That said, I don't know how many other Black people are on here on this call, how many other Natives on this call. Yesterday was the first day of American Indian Heritage Month. All right, so I'm both. And there's less than 1% of Indigenous people in this community. I'm part of that less than 1%. There's only 4% Black people. We're not going to be able to move in here without some sort of opening, right? There has to be a gateway, right? A literal gateway, not Gateway Plaza, an entree into the neighborhood. And the only way to do that is by making it affordable. The census shows, this is statistical data. This is not somebody's feelings. This is not emotion. This is over the past 10 years, Lower Manhattan, particularly Battery Park City, has gotten richer and whiter. It's just a fact. So we want to reverse that, particularly on public land, which is for everybody, which uses everybody's taxes. We should be trying to open up this neighborhood and make it accessible. And again, that is the city's mission. That was supposed to be Battery Park City's mission. And that is the mission of many of us. Also, 9/11 survivors and first responders are set apart, not as if we're better than other people, but are set apart from other disabled people because we were lied to by our government. This is why we are sick. We were told it is safe to be here. It is safe to clean your own apartment. It is safe to move back. It's safe to go back to work. It's safe to do this. And because we listened and rebuilt this neighborhood and made it the thriving place that it is today, we are dying. So that's what's different from somebody who, just by some other circumstance, has a disability or passed away as humans do. And this is why we are owed a debt by this city, by this state, by this country, by this neighborhood specifically, because all the people that are getting rich off of us are getting rich off of us, literally off of our backs, off of our blood, sweat, and tears. Those of us who lost family members or who are sick and ailing, some of whom are sitting here on this meeting right now, suffering through their condition to be a part of this conversation. Sorry, and I get really with that one because my whole family is affected by 9/11. Okay, my mother's in rehab right now from stage 4 cancer from 9/11 because she worked at Deutsche Bank, not because she's a Lower Manhattan resident, because she's not. She lives in Harlem. But that's another point. There are people of color who can't live here, but who generate income in this neighborhood and have for all of this time, who were here on 9/11, who worked in our restaurants, who are our nannies, who work in our schools, who are our doormen. They don't get a say in how the taxes are spent. They don't get a say. They don't get to live in the neighborhoods they work in. These are things that have to be considered. There's a problem when a neighborhood is 70% white or 70% anything. There is a problem. But particularly the oppressive class or the majority class, when it's majority that, one neighborhood, one single neighborhood, that is a problem. But especially in some place like New York City that's supposed to be so open and diverse and liberal and fair and everybody's welcome. It doesn't seem so when that's the case. I just hope that our board will consider these things. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mariama. Nick, I see that Sarah Cassell has raised her hand and that Kathy Gupta has raised her hand. Do you want to speak before them or after? It's up to you because you've had your hand up the whole time.
No, they're the board members. Go ahead, by all means.
Okay, thank you so much. So Sarah
Thank
went
you.
first. Sarah, go ahead, and then Kathy.
Mariama, thank you very much. That was perfect. Good night.
Thanks so much, Sarah, for sharing. Kathy?
Pretty much the same thing. Full disclosure, I'm one of those 9/11 people, but I wanted to thank Mariama for what she said, and I couldn't be more eloquent. So I have nothing to add, but I wanted to reinforce it. So.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Nick?
Thanks, thanks, Justine and Mariam and everyone. I was a young staffer on September 11th, 2001, downtown. I worked at 100 Church Street at what that time was the Mayor's Office of Operations. Our last day ever in that office was September 10th. We never went back. We were then assigned to kind of recovery efforts. So, it's a day that obviously continues to shape all of the days in front of us and all the days since. And obviously a very formative moment in all of our existences. So something very near and dear to me as well. Just a couple of things, just so we have it for the folks who may be tuning in or may not be entirely familiar with kind of how it works, and I'll be brief. But so the taxes, or in Battery Park City's case, payment in lieu of taxes, which is essentially the equivalent of real estate tax, is not set, obviously, as we know, some of us may know, some may not, but that's why I'm saying it, is not set by the Battery Park City Authority. That is set by your elected officials, and your elected officials in Battery Park City are elected officials like anyone else has anywhere else in New York City. You have a council member, you have a state senator, you have a state assembly member, you have a congressperson, you have the controller, you have the mayor, you have the public advocate. Roughly 80% of the revenue that the Battery Park City Authority takes in every year is from pilot, which again is collected. We're in the unenviable position of kind of collecting it, but we don't set it. That's set by your elected officials, with a combination of the tax rate and the assessed value as set by the New York City Department of Finance. So we're not involved in pilot in any sense, except in the fact that we collect it. There was a statement, I think, before about money not accruing to Battery Park City, and certainly reasonable people can differ about where that money should go or how much of it. But if you look around Battery Park City and the care and attention that we put into kind of maintaining this neighborhood, it is clear that there is a good amount of money spent in maintaining this neighborhood to the magnificent standards that we all know and love. And we take that very seriously because we are aware of the legacy that we have here and making sure that it is a wonderful neighborhood for the people who live and work and visit here and enjoy it from all around the world. And then the last thing I would say is there was a comment earlier, and this is just me standing up for my fellow public servants. This suggestion that money that goes through from the Battery Park City to the city and state goes into a black hole, I think is just, obviously it's wrong. Every single dollar and every single cent can be accounted for. I assure you, this isn't some kind of developing country. This is the United States of America, and first world kind of accounting standards, and every cent can be accounted for. It may not be going in the directions you want, but just as a shout out to my fellow public servants, every dollar can be accounted for, I assure you. Not by me, because we don't spend it, but I'm sure it can be accounted for. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nick. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to make it sound like this was not transparent. It just, so sorry for that. But yeah, got it. So I have moved into a different room, and so I cannot see if anybody's hands are raised. Lucian, can you take over? I see your, I just need a minute to get back to my computer to see what's going on. So, hold on. Okay, sorry, back here at the computer again. I apologize for that. All right, no, so thank you. I appreciate that. I see Victoria raised her hand again. Victoria, is that correct? And
Yes.
I don't, and okay, yeah, Victoria, you may speak, and thank you. Sorry for just yes, please speak.
No, not at all. I just wanted to say, Nick, I know I think I was the one who used the term black hole, and I did not mean any disrespect, and certainly did not mean the money was not accounted for, but much more the sense that we don't know, it's not a common knowledge or something. And if we had something like 5 World Trade Center where we could say that would be something that would be very, significant, and I think it would be a little more. So I did not mean any disrespect by that.
Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate that, Victoria. Yes, you said it better than I did, and I'm sorry I'm distracted, but I do have a kind of a family emergency going on in the background, so that's my distractions. But
Sorry.
I see. No, it's okay. It's fine. It's expected, but there's noise. Jeff, I see you raised your hand. Will you please take over? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was simply trying to, I mean, I think we've talked a lot tonight. There is a possible resolution on, but the only thing we've talked in detail about is 5 World Trade Center. And I think the special purpose fund is more than that. And that's assuming there's a majority that favors that as being one use. I'm not sure of the timing of how these negotiations are going. I seriously doubt the disposition of the funds is going to be decided between now and next month. But I think we should all take account of what we're talking about here and be prepared to do a resolution, say next month, on what we want to advocate for this special purpose fund. As Nick has made very clear, it's appropriate for us to state what we think should be done with this fund. That's, whether we get it or not, but we won't get anything if we don't ask for it. My suggestion would be, let's think about this over the next, and think hard about it between now and next month, and be prepared to do a resolution next month. That's my suggestion.
Jeff, thank you. I actually agree with you on that score. I think that it's really important that this community weigh in because, I know I've spoken about Battery Park City and the things that we needed. I have mentioned NYCHA. I haven't heard anyone talking about NYCHA housing. I think that we have to look in our community. I think we have, and NYCHA is in our CB1 community. We do have some NYCHA housing in CB1. I think that we need to be aware of what other needs are out there, whether it's for homeless shelters. I don't even know. But I do think that the specifics, I think it's okay to ask for specifics in a resolution. Does it mean that the comptroller and the mayor and the Battery Park City Authority have to agree on the specifics that we're suggesting? No, but that's also government, right? But I do think that we need to be looking at things. And I would call upon this committee to think about these as issues. A certain percentage, 5%, 10%, to help affordability in Battery Park City. I think that it makes sense to have a certain percentage, if not for affordability in Battery Park City, to look to the buildings, whether they're the residential only or the residential and the commercial. I think it's most of the residential, but again, we should be having a conversation about it, to have them think about kicking back a percentage to help meet local law 97. Which might be putting, I don't know how it's doing for the rental buildings, but I can tell you the conversation among the condo buildings is it's going to be a catastrophic expense on these buildings, and it's going to be difficult to meet. And yet, local law 97 is important for climate change. We need to protect the environment, and we need to make changes. So it's not about saying there's something wrong with local law 97, but it is about saying that we need help to make the changes that are necessary. NYCHA housing. How about we focus on repairing? Then let's say the money from the Joint Purpose Fund in the first years goes to repairing the NYCHA housing that's in Community Board 1. And then after that, we go to what's in Community Board 2 or 3 or whatever, and we keep going, then so on and so on and so on. Because the good news about Battery Park City, hopefully, is it's going to continue for a long time into the future. So this money, whatever it will be coming and would be a flow. To me, that's what I would like to do. Okay, so that's what I'm tasking this committee with. Think about and come back to our December meeting with some ideas about what we want to put in a resolution. What do we want to ask for specifically? We go from there. And again, obviously, this is a democracy. I could be outvoted in terms of how detailed we get, but I think it's important to be sane and involved in as much as we possibly can. I don't know why I can't see people. Can't see anything but Lucian right now. I don't even see myself.
Robin has her hand up.
Okay, please, Robin, go ahead and speak. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it.
You're on mute.
No disparagement about the accounting for how the monies are spent. There's never been a dispute about that. The dispute or the issue is really about the decision making behind the use of the funds. And to the extent that we vote for people in office, and I'm not talking about the city council participatory budgeting process, which really is about a very small amount of money in comparison to the full city budget. I'm talking about how we, as the funders of the fund, should have a say or be able to participate in some way about the allocation of those funds, some of which should remain here, frankly, especially as prices have increased and people are being priced out of what was built as a middle-class neighborhood, and it is no longer. And also to have a vote on how monies are spent outside of our community. And that's really all I wanted to say. It's there's no democracy here in terms of where our money goes. We pay taxes, but there's no representation. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you. You're speaking truth, Robin. Thank you so much. And that's the bottom line. I think, excuse me, I think that unless someone else has something to say, I see no one's hand raised in the attendee section. I want to thank the Controller's Office representative for being here. I want to thank our elected representatives for being here. I recognize Emily Lang from Brian Kavanaugh's office. I don't know if other folks are here from other offices. I don't recognize the names offhand. But I do recognize those two, and I want to thank them. I hope that you're listening and hearing and can come back to us with some ideas. And we will come forward next month with a resolution. And I hope that we have been thoughtful in our discussion. I know we have. I feel like we have been. And I felt we made our case eloquently that we do deserve a seat at the table. And that is the biggest issue, is that we are well-versed in this. And I think that we do need to have a say on how this money is spent. All right. So I think that closes everything out except for Patrick Murphy's report and for Nick Spordone's report. Is that correct?
I think that's it. Pat, what do you think, man? I always let you
Pat go first. What do you think?
You always let Pat go first. I don't know, but
do.
it's okay.
It's time for him to go home.
All right, go ahead. Pat.
All right. I'm going on mute. Go ahead, Pat. Thank you.
Okay. For October, graffiti, we had no incidents in the park. Homeless, we had interactions with 6 people. Lost and found, we had 2 incidents. Park rules, we're at 29 incidents of that. Dealing with vendors, 0. Okay. And with dogs, we only had 4 this month. Okay. I know that there was some talk about a person walking along by West Thames and heading south. the other night that was hollering and screaming and that stuff. We were aware of it. In fact, the supervisor went and called 911 for him because he was throwing up, etc. And he didn't want any part of it. And he just kept walking, and he walked straight out of the park, just to let you know about that. Okay? And we did have one person break into PRA who was arrested. So anybody have any questions?
No, Nick, that was great. Thank you so much. I see if anybody has any hands raised. I think we are going to be talking about, excuse me, the smoke shop, the new convenience store smoke shop that's in at 98. That's the street address, 98 Battery Place. I think we're going to be discussing that either in quality of life. Tammy, Tammy might be gone, but Lucian, you can help me out. I believe it'll be discussed later. So I'm not gonna. Yeah. So Nick is looking really happy about that. So he gets to
Justine,
go.
I think you could probably. I mean, this is really the community who wants to know about the result of the enforcement as opposed to like the how the enforcement, because I think you have a lot of good news there.
I've
There
got
is-
some news.
there
I
is
do
some
have
good
some
news.
news.
It's okay. Good. You can let me go first, and then Lucian, just tell me the name of the agency that came by, which was amazing that we got them in here.
DCWP, Department of Consumer and Worker Protection.
Okay, they came, they examined or whatever the right word is, examined the store, and they came up with, I believe it was 20 violations. It's a matter of public record, and one of
Just of flavored tobacco. There was many others in addition to that.
Okay, yeah, no, I mean okay, so that was just 20 violations of flavored tobacco. Wow, I counted 20 in what I saw, but okay. So that's number one. They are definitely selling tobacco. They are definitely selling flavored tobacco. They are also operating a business without a license in terms of the tobacco license and they are they are within 500 feet of a school. So all of these things are a reason to have a problem. The downside of the enforcement action is they can't just close them down. There's a hearing that's set for sometime in early December, I believe. And I'm sorry that I can't see the actual email to see, but Lucian,
So they have a hearing with an administrative law judge with oath, and when their violations are ruled on, if they're found to be guilty, then they'll the next string of violations, if they don't correct these conditions, will be aggravated violations. So they'll start kind of ramping up.
That makes sense. And so part of the deal is that the gentleman, there's a young gentleman there who Nick Bordone, I think you met the person. I don't know his name. I have not met him personally. I think Tammy spoke with him. And Zach is his name. Okay, so Zach is quite misinformed about what's going on in his store. I don't know if he's the manager. I don't know if he's a relative of the people who own the store, but he came up with a bunch of information that was inaccurate, and he seems to think he's got a license pending, but we did find out that it is not possible to get a tobacco license in New York City anymore because they've been all given out. So that's the update on this part of it, and I will give you more information as we go forward. I can tell you that the Cove Club condo board is opposed to this. They're willing to write a letter to both us and city council people about it. They just are in the process. I don't think anybody's too thrilled with what they're doing. Again, they're certainly entitled to have a business. They are not entitled to have a business that breaks the law. So that is of concern. But Nick, you have some good news. I'm open to it.
Yes, thank you. I'll try and be brief, and then I'll go into my report if that's okay with everyone, and try and wrap up in the next 10, 15 minutes or so. But first off, thanks to Lucian, I know, and to Tammy. We have kind of since the last meeting been working this certainly at a staff level, and again, not with any predetermined kind of end in sight. Just like, let's find out what's what's going on. Last time we heard that maybe there wasn't stuff being sold there, but I think Sonia was on, Miss Weiss, and she had said that there was. I had taken a walk down there the subsequent Monday. I think it was probably last week or so. I met Zach one evening. Perfectly pleasant fellow, presented himself as a real gentleman, was engaging and helpful. He said he was working with the community to try and move some things behind the counter and kind of be less generally offensive. I don't know how read in he may be about kind of some of the rules and the particulars in New York City, or he was telling me he wasn't, but I don't want to assume that. Maybe he just doesn't know. But work with Lucian. Lucian very helpfully sent me some information about the visit by DWCP. I have been engaging with some residents directly on things that they have heard through one complaints and other things. And we have engaged with the Department of Finance, specifically the Sheriff's Office, to say, hey, that these are some things that we're hearing, what's going on. And some weeks ago, I don't know if you know, there was a similar, if not identical, but a similar situation out in Staten Island where the Sheriff's Office had visited kind of some type of similar shop. So we had engaged with them. My colleague Eric Munson, who you may know, our Chief Operating Officer, very helpfully helped kind of lead the charge on that. And the news we got this afternoon was that the Sheriff's Office visited the smoke shop today and removed, as I have it, 16 bags of merchandise from the store. And certainly, I think, got their attention in terms of, hey, they're doing things here that are not okay, and it's on our radar, and you need to be made aware that you're doing things that are not right. A number of fines were also issued. I don't have the particulars yet, but those, as Lucian had mentioned, would be payable or returnable to OATH, which is the Office of Administrative Trials and Hearings. So more to come. And again, like I want to say, like, businesses should be welcome and are welcome to operate anywhere in New York City, including Battery Park City, but there are rules to follow, and you need to make sure that you are abiding by those and not kind of flouting the rules through ignorance or with purposeful intent. So more to come, certainly, but we are aware. We want to be obviously both respectful of a business's right to kind of operate legally, emphasis on legally, and also responsive to the many resident concerns we're hearing about what is going on. And in fact, now that we have some evidence of what is happening at the place, we want to make sure that we are monitoring and addressing. And I thank Lucian and Tammy and Justine and many of the community members for their leadership in helping us get the right information to the right places.
And thank you, Nick. And I think it's just important, just as a public servant, just to say this. I think we still have to, as a government body, state that, you know, all, even business owners, operators who receive violations are presumed innocent until proven guilty. So
Correct. This is not.
This person will have their day in court to defend their business against the alleged unpermitted practices. But you've all seen the list. There's this inspector has observed what they believe to be numerous, and so, you know, we'll all be watching the results of this with great interest.
Yep, thank you. That's a really good point, Lucian. And thank you for putting that in the chat too. That is beyond the fact that people are entitled to have a business. Innocent until proven guilty is a strong position. So let's be kind. Thank you, Nick, for that update too. How about going to your report and then we can close this down? Can we get done by 8:30? Could that be possible?
I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to do the best we can.
Talk fast, Nick.
I actually have some really kind of good stuff. I mean, I always have good stuff, but I think a couple of things. So COVID, obviously, still a top item. You can read that there. Most of that is the same. There's the latest governor update linked there for you. Operation Pumpkin Drop. I mentioned this. This is on page 2 to Lucian and the team yesterday. But if you're in Battery Park City or elsewhere and you have a pumpkin that you want to recycle, drop it at any one of our composting bins there. And it'll be used as compost to as a nutrient for Battery Park City's parks and gardens. So it's a new thing we're trying as we expand our composting program. Had a little fun with that, but Operation Pumpkin Drop is underway from yesterday through the end of Thursday. you could drop a pumpkin in there on Friday, I'll probably still take it. But Operation Pumpkin Drop is underway, so be part of it if you have a pumpkin you want to get rid of.
It's an inspired name. Inspired.
I was pressed yesterday and I was feeling inspired, Lucian. I was thinking of you the whole time. So the next thing is the Northwest Battery Park City Resiliency Project scoping meeting. I had mentioned this last month. You've seen the ads in the broadsheet and other of our fine local publications, but that's on November 16th. For those of you who recall the process through the South Battery Park City Resiliency Project, it's the first step of the environmental review process, where we kind of publish a draft scoping document, which is linked there, both in the report and on our site. It's not terribly long. It's about 35, 38 pages, and it essentially lays out the project's purpose and need, the project elements that we'll consider during the course of the project and the project schedule, and alternatives that will be studied. Bottom line is there is a public hearing on that, one of many, obviously, that we have had and continue to have about Northwest Battery Park City Resiliency. But there's a public hearing on November 16th. It's both virtual and in person if you'd like to attend, Stuyvesant High School from 5 to 8. And all that information and all the comments that people make, to the extent that they wish to make comments, will be included in the final scoping document, which will be developed as the project proceeds. Temporary play space initiative, we covered that already tonight, so I'll go past that. Bottom of page 3 there, Lucian. We did some fall tree planting last week. So there were 18 trees throughout Battery Park City that were planted. These were trees that were either previously damaged or unhealthy, and they've been planted along Little West Street and West Thames and in other areas of Battery Park City. So always a nice thing to see that we are getting new trees planted before the planting season turns into a pumpkin, as it were. Top of page 4. Couple of things I want to bring to your attention here is we talked last week about the South Cove Quay being repaired and the seniors webpage, which we mentioned last month. Right below that, this is actually a really exciting thing. I broached this with Lucian yesterday and spoke with Marianne and the seniors group. But just again, to start marinating on, and once we have more information, Lucian and Justine, be happy if you can help promote it, as we will. Asphalt Green is going to try to relaunch its pre-pandemic initiative of having free or comped free day membership passes to Battery Park City residents 62 years and older in either of Battery Park City zip codes, 10280 or 10282. So within the next couple of weeks or so, within the next month, there'll be an online application process for seniors to enter a lottery. They want to do up to 50 free memberships for seniors throughout Battery Park City. And then if you're selected as part of the random lottery, the requirement would be that you just try to get to the gym at least 6 times a month. And that would be a nice benefit for folks who are looking to stay in shape and our seniors in Battery Park City. So to the extent that we have that information, I wanted to get it out now to kind of start thinking about. And then when we have the actual the lottery information and the link and other ancillary materials, we will share that with you and be blasting out through our various channels. Okay, thank you. Next item is you can scroll down past the programming. Lucian, thank you. On to page 6, actually. The top of page 6, this is just a heads up. So we had discussed this a little earlier when we were actually on the Joint Purpose Fund conversation, interestingly enough. But one of the things that we try to achieve in Battery Park City, both through our operations and our programming and increasingly our public art, is ensuring that folks know that Battery Park City is open to all and welcoming to all. And one of the items we have coming up is a temporary art installation called Justice Reflected. There's an opening event on Saturday, November 12th by critically acclaimed artist James Yahya Huff, who was a formerly incarcerated individual who had his juvenile record. The Supreme Court ruled that life sentences for minors were unconstitutional, and he was subsequently released and has made a kind of a second life in being a critically acclaimed artist. He has a piece of temporary art coming to Battery Park City. Interestingly enough, it's going to be beautiful, but perhaps of particular interest to the committee, we're talking about art with 0 footprint. So it's not actually on the ground. It's a series of, it's a triptych installation that's going to be on the wall behind where James is standing in that picture. So that curved wall on Esplanade Plaza, right behind where I guess Gateway Plaza divides between itself and the Esplanade Plaza, that's where that will be. And there will be a wonderful opening event on Saturday, November 12th, really speaking to the breadth and scope of artistic talent we strive for in Battery Park City, the importance of it, and also the emphasis on diversity and bringing attention to issues such as the carceral state and criminal justice reform. So it really should be an interesting thing to see. All are welcome to that free opening. Wanted to certainly make sure that was on all of your radars. You can scroll down there, Lucian, and thank you. The gift drop-off is coming up. As we know, we do that each year. That's starting on November 28th. And then, of course, Holiday Lights, which will likely be before I see you all next, assuming that the BPC committee in December is going to be the following Wednesday. December 1st, it's obviously a holiday favorite, but we will be at Rockefeller Park for Holiday Lights in December. Scrolling down, the last thing, I guess, the top of page 7, this is interesting as well, kind of not us, but we got a couple of calls about it yesterday. For those of you who live at or near Gateway Plaza, Brookfield Place is doing a sidewalk shed installation in and around the Liberty Street ramp. Got a few questions yesterday, so just so you're aware, it's not Battery Park City Authority, but Local Law 11 requires facade inspection and repairs for buildings throughout New York City on a periodic basis. Brookfield is conducting that. So if you see that sidewalk shed going up this week, that's what it's for. They have a fairly aggressive schedule and will look to have that work complete and the sidewalk shed down based on what we're being told by the end of the year. So fingers crossed on that. But if you see that, that's what it is. Could scroll down there, Lucian. We talked about resiliency. The Northwest Scoping meeting is coming up. And let's see what next I have here. Okay, top of page 9, only because I know Jeff Galloway is a captive audience member. I just want to thank him and all the participants for, there you go, Battery Park City's annual holiday dog parade. Stepped off on Saturday afternoon, which was wonderful. Some highlights there from some of our four-legged friends, but again, always a real favorite around the neighborhood. Jeff and the team and the Dog Association put a lot of work into putting into an event that is really treasured by all. So certainly want to make sure that got some attention. That was a lot of fun. And I think for the most part, that is it. The last thing I will point out, if interested, the top of page 11, Lucian, and I'll fix my formatting when I post this, but Justine had mentioned our budget presentation that we had done at our board meeting, and that's linked right there at the top of page 11. The budget presentation that we made for the board last week is linked there and on our website as well. So you can read through the fiscal 2023 budget and strategic plan presentation that we made to our board, including the projected revenues, where they come from and where they go to over the course of the next year. And I think that's it.
Thank you
like
so
I
much,
forgot
Nick.
something important, but
Not
maybe
bad. Not bad. You got to,
I'm sorry. One more thing. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of Betty Kay now. Scroll back up to page 10. This is just, I've started throwing things in here because as it comes up, I was like, oh, this would be a good thing for them to see. Middle of page 10, I'm sorry, scroll down. Okay, community reminder, Manhattan weekly resurfacing schedule. So there were some questions that came up, I think last week, some milling and paving work that DOT was doing around in the northern part of the neighborhood, Murray Street and River Terrace, etc. Lucian and I at the staff level will follow up to kind of find out, perhaps about getting some more advanced notice. But for those who are interested, I went and found the link on the city's website that you can click on, and that's the Manhattan's milling and resurfacing schedule. You can click on that. That's updated once a week, and that will tell you all the work that's going on in Manhattan down to the street level about milling and repaving. So I just threw that in there for folks who are interested, and then below that you can sign up for Department of Transportation alerts and newsletters. But in as much as that came up and we spent some time on it, I thought that I would throw it in the report for you all. And I think that's it.
Thank you so much, Nick. So
8:32, Justine.
You're 32. You're good. I appreciate it. About that repaving and the resurfacing, Betty, I was so now I'm in Boston, but I was out in the North neighborhood 2 days ago, and it still was all ripped up. and it was difficult to walk. Is it still a mess? Yeah,
Yes, it is, but nothing like the night that I came home when they were actually in the process of ripping it up. And I just wasn't prepared. So I couldn't get to my building because all the ripped up tar asphalt was just piled over all the street surfaces. And there was just no way of crossing any streets.
I mean, it's still not great because going across the street now is you're very unbalanced. It's disturbing that it's taking a week to do, and they ripped up the whole street, and they did one like one section at a time.
No, I went because I went to do some composting today. So I
Okay, you
checked
were
out the
okay?
whole neighborhood, and it is the whole neighborhood that's problematic. But it's not always what people think. It's tires pick up
Yeah.
all the rubble that's out there, but then going inside, how do I get rid of it?
Yep.
So those issues, people think, well, just take your shoes off. Well, you know,
Well, you
do that.
can't. Yeah, you can't do that. No, I know. You're right, Betty. And I guess
But it was
maybe
very shaky getting across North End Avenue, even today, because I went grocery shopping and it was a challenge. But even the big trucks are rocking back and forth and creaking. It's that rough.
it is. No, I mean, I walked it. It was like I'm placing my feet carefully for fear of breaking my ankle, and riding a bike was horrifying over it. So I can only imagine what it's like for you to cross, and it's you and it's just not okay. So I guess
Well, I have to
I don't know.
tell
I
you
guess
what-
it's your committee that would be the one, right? Transportation with the DOT. They should do better about not ripping up blocks at a time.
Well, they sort of have to do that, but I was caught off guard because thank you, Nick, for putting that in. I was aware of
You went mute, Betty, for some reason.
Betty?
Betty, you're mute. You went on mute for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know why either. It would be, I was aware of the milling and paving site at DOT. But yes, to be alerted to know that your street is going to be, would be very helpful. As well as if they had information in more notice about when they're planning on paving. Because now it's kind of open-ended, although the guy that helped me across the street, well, he didn't help me. He answered questions when I was completely shocked that I couldn't go anywhere. Said, oh, it's 2 weeks. I don't know if that's real or not, but let me know there was going to be a time wait.
Wow. Well, it's certainly been 1 week at least. So, wow.
Well, I just don't want to get caught out again when they put the tarmac in. And
yes, that's a good
I
point,
don't
because then
do
you're
that.
not going to be able to go because it's going to be wet, right? So, yeah. Oh, anyway, no, thank you for that. And also thank you, Nick, for noting that the Christmas tree thing, you're also doing a stockings, the lighting, not Christmas tree, the lighting. You're also collecting for Stockings with Care, and I
Yes.
love that organization. So I
It's a
think that's
great
a wonderful
organization.
partnership. Thank you. All
Yes.
right, I think we can maybe call this to a close unless anybody has their hands raised.
I have one more thing. I'm sorry, Justine.
Oh, I
You're
see. Also,
going-
I see Kathy Gupta has something.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Kathy.
Yeah, one question and one comment. The question is, do you know why the number of seniors at Asphalt Green is limited to 50? I know when this was kind of brought up and negotiated a few years ago, it was really supposed to be open to anyone.
Yeah, I don't want to speak for Asphalt Green. Based on my conversations with them, I think that they don't have very many involved now, and I think that they want to at least try to set something that they can get to. And then, should they get to that, I guess we'll see. I don't want to commit or not commit for them, but I think that they wanted to at least establish a number that they thought might be attainable to start, assess where they are. You have a lot of folks who had not been involved or are just getting involved or don't go maybe not as frequently. And the idea is kind of the accrued benefit of having exercise on a somewhat regular basis, I think is the idea here, as they're looking for helping to promote folks with have healthier lifestyles. So I guess the idea is to try to get to that 50 and then maybe assess where they're at.
Okay, thank you. And the comment was, my husband happened to be down at Brookfield the day the scaffolding was going up over the entrance by Lake District. And it was pretty disconcerting to him, but he also noticed that there were a number of caregivers with kids in strollers and carriages and who were having real hesitation about walking out the door. And so we missed it that time, but as it starts to come down at the end of December, if Brookfield as a good neighbor would put out some kind of notice in the community that this is going to happen, at least people could schedule their day or, you know, go to another entrance or whatever it is.
That's an excellent point, Kathy. We'll get that over to their operations folks tomorrow. Ask them to
Thank you.
make sure that they're giving as much notice as possible so folks can kind of have a planning horizon. I think that's completely fair.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? I don't see anybody else, but.
Sorry, Justine, yes, one more thing.
Oh, yes, that's
I know
right.
it's late, but just so no one gets caught unaware, okay? Candy Crush. Have you heard about Candy Crush?
Oh, Candy Crush. Jeff, you here? Go ahead.
Yes,
No.
I was there. I saw.
Yes,
What is
so
it? Tell
just
us.
so everyone's clear on it and what it's not, okay? Liberty State Park is having an event tomorrow night where they're having like these, it sounds ridiculous, I swear, but it's a real thing. They're having these drones go up in the sky and reflect in the sky a celebration of 10 years of Candy Crush. It's going to be viewable wherever you are on the west side of Manhattan. But again, it's not done through or by New York City. It's happening in Jersey. However, it's going to be viewable in New York City because we share a river with New Jersey. That's the whole thing. So what's going to happen tomorrow night is if you're out and you're interested in Esplanade Plaza, there's going to be a viewing station for people to say, oh, wow, this is cool. Let's look. And there will be like food and snacks and music, not super loud music. And it's going to wrap up by, I think, around 8:30 or 9 o'clock at the latest. So it's not going to go too late. Jeff very helpfully joined us yesterday, and we met with some of the organizers to reinsure with them and kind of reiterate the fact that, hey, we understand that you're great. You seem like you're great. This is a residential neighborhood. You got to make sure the music is A, not too loud, and B, not directed at the buildings. And they seem very amenable to that, as well as having an on-site contact, which I will, Jeff, if I haven't already, I'll get you the number too. But that's the long and the short of it. It's happening whether we existed or not, because it's happening in New Jersey, but it's going to be viewable from here.
Okay.
So if you're
And
down on
quick
the west
question.
side tomorrow in Manhattan and you see it, that's what it is.
And in the immediate area where they're setting up on Esplanade Plaza, you have to be 18 years or older to get into that area. Apparently, it's some law against marketing video games to kids under 18, but there's no to the extent people with kids want to see it along the Esplanade.
Right.
It'll be fine.
Open.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. And then a quick question. So tomorrow's Thursday, pickleball. Did you put a note up to say there's no pickleball?
No, I did. Volleyball.
It's volleyball. So pickleball's gone. You told the
Justine, you're
volleyball
elongating
people?
your own meeting. No, it's fine. I actually forgot to put this in. I spoke with Hari,
Okay, good.
and I'm going to email Hari and Harry and Tony Volleyball.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
But just so we have it, and thanks to
them
the staff
know.
here, I was very annoying to them the past couple of days, but I really pushed to see how far out into November we can push volleyball. And it's going to be November 17th. Okay.
Nice.
Usually it goes down before that. So just so we
Yes.
know, the net will be up. But on November 16th will be the last full day of volleyball. And then
Okay.
after the 16th, and that's usually when we start lawn closures, et cetera, the net will come down and then the mat comes up for the season. And once the mat comes up, that's it because the weather gets a little cold.
That makes sense.
Between now and then, and I will get Hari and Harry a schedule, there will be days between now, which is November 2 and November 16th, when the net does have to come down for different things like the opening of the Justice Reflected event that we just talked about.
Yeah, because it's going to be
It'll
right
be
there.
down for that. But it'll be back up intermittently through November 16th is the last full day for volleyball. And then after that, it's down for the season and out. And then hopefully, obviously back up next spring as soon as the weather permits.
Perfect. No, that's totally cool. And thank you. And sorry to prolong the meeting for it, but thank you
No,
for
it's-
telling them in advance.
They're great.
They
The
give me a headache.
volleyball folks are really just a really delightful group of people. And we want to make sure that we are encouraging them and being as communicative as we can in as much advance as we can. So they're a good group.
Yes. Thank you so much. And I think now we can call it close to the meeting. Thank you all so much. And thank you for putting up with my technical difficulties at the beginning of the meeting. Good night, everybody.
Okay.
Good night.
Take care. Good night.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you. Bye now.